Welcome to what I'm thinking is the most anticipated video from my channel of the year. This is going to be my yearly palette collection and palette declutter. I have hundreds of palettes and we are going to go through all of them. I'm going to let you know which ones are my favorites, which ones I'm getting rid of, which ones I'm saving for the nostalgia of it all. Like I said, this is going to be a long video, so buckle in. I will leave a link to my declutter playlist down below because it's the fourth declutter of the season. I usually do 5 declutters every year where I go through my entire collection. There's one more left this year and it's going to be lip products, and that is going to be next week. Also, don't forget to thank my husband for editing these declutters for me. This is his yearly contribution to my beauty channel. He usually puts a spin to it, does some editing, and we all love it, even though he's often making fun of me. Be nice. He's probably sitting at the keyboard like, nope, absolutely not. I'm gonna speak my piece, which is totally fine. And again, I do not give away my used makeup to my subscribers, so please don't ask for it in the comment. I do give away my makeup to my friends, neighbors, people around me, and if I have any unused makeup, I put them in the giveaway pile, and I do giveaways on my channel. So just letting you know about that. But let's jump in to this year's yearly declutters. I hope you like it. Okay, welcome to the first piles of makeup that we have here in front of us, and I am going to go through all of my palettes, and I actually have, at this point in time when I'm filming this, more palettes than I have space for. So I do need actually to get rid of some of these, especially the ones that I haven't reached for. And when I declutter, I try to declutter palettes that I no longer reach for, palettes that I no longer care for, and palettes that haven't been touched even for comparison swatches or for holding up in a YouTube video since my last declutter. So there are some brands right now that aren't as hyped anymore that I definitely feel the need to get rid of some of them, because quite honestly, none of you are asking for these brands, so there's no need for me to be cluttering up my space with these things. Let's start with the ones that are just in front of me. These are going to be somewhat according to brand, but not always, simply due to, let me see if I can scooch this away, simply due to the fact that once I started getting a little bit cluttered up over the year, some of them ended up not being together. So some of these brands are going to be collected, and then at the end you will see some of the newer palettes in my collection that I had to put somewhere else. So this is the Arttitude Cosmetics Obsession palette. This is actually a really cool palette, and with a lot of these brands I do have affiliate codes with, so if you were interested in any of these brands, check the description box for some affiliate codes, because I will not be able to link all of these palettes because there are quite literally hundreds and hundreds of palettes. This is a really nice palette, and also most of these palettes I do have looks with or reviews on my channel with these, so all you have to do is search for them on my channel and you will find something. This is a really cool palette. We're definitely keeping this one. Arttitude Cosmetics is a brand that I just recently started reviewing on my channel, and I've really been enjoying their stuff. We have a lot of Beauté here. This is dark fantasy. I have not reached for this a single time, even for like comparisons. So I'm actually gonna get rid of this one. I do have also the Wilderness palette, and this is a real cool palette, but same here. I haven't reached for it, and I think I'm gonna get rid of this one too. This is a nice palette, but when it comes to Beauté, I think I'm kind of fine with these. This is the Earthy palette. This comes in a 9 pan and then also like a big 42 pan. I think this one, that is the 16 pan, honestly is the better one. Same with the Berries. It's a really nice palette. I love these palettes. And the Midnight one. This is less of a monochromatic palette. This actually has blues and purples. These palettes are just really nice, and I do want to keep these palettes. We also have one in the bottom here that we'll get to. Then we're coming into Lunar Beauty. Lunar Beauty is one of my favorite indie brands. This is the Siren Sunset. This is one of their newer palettes. I'm pretty sure, was this the holiday palette last year? I'm unsure now. It looks really cute though. I'm definitely keeping this one. We also have the Full Fantasy. This is the more neutral one. This is actually a really good neutral palette. If you want a neutral palette with a hint of a twist, honestly. These more olivey tones down here are really cool, and there is 2 duochromes in this palette as well. Then we have the Strawberry Dream. I wish we could see more like a colorful palette like this from Manny. I understand that that's not entirely his style of colors, but I do wish in the future we could see more things like this. As you can see, I want to keep this collection complete. I also have the Eternal Eclipse. It's like a blue and almost neutral and warm brown palette with some cool tones. I also think that this is a really nice neutral palette. It has a pop of blue, but it is 2 blue shades, so you can technically do a look with that if you want to. Then, of course, we have the Moonspell palette. I think this was just very ahead of its time with like a little Halloween-y theme, and I think a lot of people were very inspired by the success of this palette of like what they ended up doing later on. This is a really cool palette. Of course, it has a metallic inside, so it's a little bit harder to show, but this is a really cool color story. This is not available anymore, but you can find similar things to this on the market. And then we have the Moonspell Volume 2, which the burgundy cover, which is very, like, burgundy is such a popular color right now. And this is what that one looks like. Same here, it's like a metallic inside, so it's not as easy to show. I really enjoy this palette, but I know not everybody loved this palette as much as the other one. I love a pink and red color story, but I also think that that is very scary for a lot of people. Okay, let me put these to the side because I am going to be keeping these. And then we have the Beauty Brights palette. This is very big, and I will say, oh my god, I can't even open it. I will say, I love a good rainbow palette, I really do, but this is just too big and I never reach for it. I do like the colors in here. I do think that this is a good quality product. It definitely is. But do you need this big of a rainbow palette? No, you really, really don't. You really, 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 really don't. And I think that I have these kind of colors. If I want to reach for this color, I just never reach for this. It's too big of a palette. So I'm going to get rid of that one as well. Then we have Ace Beauté. I love Ace Beauté, but I don't know what has happened with that brand. So this is the Flora palette. I love brown and yellow together, but I have now that in other palettes. So I actually think I'm going to get rid of this one simply because I don't like how the pans look, but I do like the color story of brown and yellow. I love brown. If you have never tried brown and yellow, this is your sign to do that. And this is Fleur. It's a really nice purple palette, but as you can see, I have a lot of purple palettes. So I'm actually going to get rid of that one too. But then this is probably one of my most used palettes in my collection. Look at this one. It's called Classical Paradise. I think Ace Beauté is going through a rebrand. Ace Beauté has one of the best eyeshadow formulas from indie brands. Like, it's truly an amazing eyeshadow formula, and this is such a good color story. Like, honestly, it's so good. I don't know, they might have a sale now. Check out the brand because you might be able to get some of these a little money off. This is amazing too. Look at Envy. Such a cool color story. I love these palettes. I don't want to get rid of them. Really hope the brand is not going under. Look at that. This one is called Aura. Again, this is like purples again, but it's just a little bit more interesting. Loving these tones down here. And then we have Tropical Vibes. Mine is a little broken, but look at this color story. I just think that this is so interesting and so fun, and I'm just like blown away by how this looks. I think it's so fun. Then we have Oceanic, which is the blue one. Super nice. I want to keep these, but I think I'm going to get rid maybe of the Flare one. Haven't used this in a bit. This is a really nice one too. I can't keep all of my palettes, and I am having a sneaking suspicion that they're gonna reformulate. This is the Ambience one. I think I'm gonna get rid of this one too, although I'm loving these kind of tones, but I feel like I can get it from the palettes I had here. And then the Paletopoli. This is such a fun color story. I love the quality of this one, and the like the combos that you can do in here, really amazing. I do have similar things from palettes that I do think are available. I don't think that this one is available anymore, and also I don't see a lot of people asking for comparisons with this one. It's a really fun palette though. Like, if you see this on sale, I truly recommend it. Let's talk about a couple of the Gourmand Girls palettes. These are not all of my Gourmand Girls palettes, but there are some of them. This is the Haunted palette. This is also a really interesting color story, and like I said, I'm fairly sure that this one is still available, so I am going to keep this one around. And it is the same one. Let's put some melt to the side. It is the same with this Nightshade palette. Really interesting color story. I'm very sure that this one is also still around. And then we have the Spooked. Oh, this is it's a nice Halloween palette. Some really nice shades in here. And the Silent Night, which looks like this. Such a cool palette as well. And as I'm filming this, I do know that the brand is coming out with another winter palette. And as you're seeing this, it's already been revealed and I've already seen it and it is so pretty. You should definitely check that one out. Let's go into some melt. This is the Vita palette. I should probably put this in the things I'm only keeping for nostalgia and not actually using, because I'm not using this. I'm keeping this for nostalgia. And it is the same with the Muerta palette. I really love these palettes that they came, and they do represent something in the makeup community. They remind me of a time when the makeup community was just a little bit not as complicated, let's say. And I really like these color stories. With that being said, you can get better quality than this for less prices. Let's actually put these together for less price than the melt price from other brands that I'm showing you right now. Other brands have better quality than this for less price with equally exciting color stories. So don't get too hung up on the fact that you missed these, because now, today, 2024, you can definitely find something similar at a less price tag. This is Fatally Yours, Melt and Baileysarian. I think this is a really interesting color story. I'm going to keep this because I do like Baileysarian, and this is a new palette in my collection. But with that being said, for me, this is lacking a little contrast. I think all of these shades are leaning a little bit too dark for my liking, but there's always a time and a place for deepening out the look, and I think this one is perfect for that. Here is two more melt palettes that we are keeping simply because of the nostalgia. This is Recently Deceased. It is the one that they did with Beetlejuice. Really fun color story. Again, is it perfect? No, there's some redundancy in that palette for sure. And then there is the Waiting Room. Again, this color story for sure you can find, the other one as well, you can find in lesser price, better quality, maybe not as fun packaging from other indie brands. You don't feel too discouraged that you don't have these from Melt, because there are other around that you can get for like a similar price. Here's another one from Gourmand Girls. I think I'm actually gonna get rid of this one because I think it's discontinued and not a lot of people are asking for comparisons. This is the Warriors Wear Pink palette. It is a really nice palette. She had this one to support a friend of hers who was dealing with breast cancer. So I think it was a really great cause, and it's a really pretty palette, and I'm excited that I have it. I think I'm gonna get rid of it now and give it to someone else, because I'm fairly sure that this is not available and not a lot of people are asking for comparisons. Okay, putting some of those to the side, I do have a lot of Nomad Cosmetics and Ensley Reign here. I think all of these are Nomad Cosmetics. And then I have some Oden's Eye on the side, and I have over here some BH Cosmetics, some Fantasy Cosmetica, and some Juvia's Place. Let's start with the Nomad Cosmetics palette. I feel like I have a pretty complete collection. This is the Royal Europe palette, so I don't know if I'm gonna actually get rid of any of these because my collection is pretty complete. This has multi-chromes in it. I don't know if you can see in the mirror or not, but it is multi-chromes in this palette. This one is discontinued, but I really like the color story of this one, and I kind of hope that they would come back with this one. This is the America's Parks. Love this color story with the bright greens and the yellows, and then a couple of like neutrals, reds, berries. I think this color story is really great. What I will say, they have done better shimmers than this. So I kind of wish that this one would come back, which is with better shimmers, because I think overall this is a really cool color story. And this one is the Winter Snow Lodge. I don't know if they still have this one, but I love this color story too. It's almost like it's not a rainbow palette, but it has some of the elements of it, and these blue shades are just so interesting. Again, really like this brand. I love their color stories. They have a different take on makeup. It's not always predictable, let's say that. And I love the theming and the packaging. Then we have the Fête de Provence, which has a very interesting color story. This isn't my type of shades, like the grayish shades, but I do love the yellows and the reds. This one is leaning a little lighter. It definitely feels a little bit more like a summer palette. And then we have the Okawanga, is it Okawanga? Okawango, I think Okawango, the Safari palette. This is a soft touch palette, and it looks like this. Oh my god, I'm trying to be in the middle. This is more of a neutral palette with some greens in it, and it's a really pretty one. Same here. These are not their best shimmers, but I really like the mattes, and I think it's a very interesting color story. I think this is a lot of people's favorite palette from the brand. This is the Hudson Valley palette. Very appropriate, like just fall palette, honestly. It's just such an interesting palette. It has like reds, bright reds, and muted greens, and then cool tone neutrals, and then warm neutrals at the other end. Really nice color story, and also 3 shimmers in the middle and very matte heavy, which is something that I really like. This one I'm pretty sure came out this year. This is the New Zealand Stargazing palette. And this also has some multichromes in it. This is like a pink and blue color story. Pink, blue, purple color stories have been really in this year. Like they have been really, really popular this year. This is a very interesting color story. And again, the shimmers in this palette, absolutely incredible. This, I've heard, is also a lot of people's favorite palette from Nomad Cosmetics. This is the Ghost Town USA palette. It is more of a neutral, cool tone color story. Very interesting. I'm loving the undertones of the neutrals over here. There is some blues, there is some cool tone greens. It's overall a cool tone palette that isn't just grays, which I think is very interesting. Honestly, there's not a single gray in here. So if you have grays and you want to get some complementary shades that are cool tones, this could be a good one. I love this one. This is the Cloud Forest, Monteverde Cloud Forest palette. And this one is a rainbow palette, a neon rainbow palette mixed together with a lot of extra greens. It's almost like they did a green monochromatic palette and merged it together with a neon rainbow palette. Very interesting color story. I have had so much fun with this one. It's such an interesting and fun palette for sure. Then we have some of the Fantasy Cosmetica palette. I have more than these because they have come out with some other things as well, and you can see some of these have the old, I think this one mainly, or maybe some of these, yeah, maybe all of these have the older packaging that is less defined, and then you see the new ones, it's just a little bit better like artwork on it. But they make really interesting color stories. This is the Warlock. These are inspired by Dungeons and Dragons. This is the Warlock. Then we have the Bard. I love this color story. I think it's really nice. Such a fall color story. The Fighter, which is more of a neutral color story. This is really nice. Honestly, this is really nice and good quality. The Druid, which was the original one, this is also really nice quality. The Sorcerer, which I didn't, this one and the Warlock I think has the weakest mattes in the palettes, but this one is my favorite of the 9-pan palettes. This is the Rogue one. Oh, I really like this one. I think this is a super, super fun one. I love the shades. They all go together and they're just a little bit, it's a little bit more interesting. I'll save the Ensley Reign because I have more Ensley Reign and I think we can talk about that later. Okay, let's talk about the BH Cosmetics because I have a few of their palettes and honestly, I don't think they're coming back. Can we just agree that they're not coming back? I have more shades here. But I love these palettes. It's hard. I'm going to save a couple that I know make sense, not only because I'm going to be honest with you, some of these I still use, and also they make sense for comparisons, like the Passion in Paris. This is a great color story. This is a great quality, and I would like to keep this one for comparisons. Maybe I don't need to keep the Barcelona one. Not a lot of people are asking about this one. The Los Angeles one is a nice pastel palette, and this one could make sense for comparisons. I think I'm gonna get rid of it. Blueberry Muffin I'm definitely keeping. Oh, here's another Juvia's Place. Again, I love this one, and this one makes sense also for comparisons when we're doing like blue neutral palettes, because I do refer back to that one. Then we have the Bubblegum palette, the blue one. These, again, these are more palettes that I keep, the green one, and my favorite, the red one, that I keep for reference, and also because they remind me of a time that BH Cosmetics did amazing palettes on a monthly basis. And then we have the Do Not Disturb, and we have the Looks Like a Snack. Oh, this one is such a good palette, but I think I'm gonna get rid of those, and I am, is this the one? Yeah, no, the Low-Key Love You. I love this one. I also have another one. That's probably in another place, but that one I travel with a lot, and this one is great too. So I'm gonna save the Low Key Love You. The other two I haven't used in a bit, so I'm gonna get rid of them. I used to love being able to do these monthly like birthstone palette videos every month, and I had so much fun doing it. These are the ones I have left. I have Amethyst left, I have Peridot left, I have Sapphire left, and then Citrine. Again, this is that brown and yellow color story. I think I'm gonna get rid of these. Nobody is talking about these anymore, and this year actually Ensley Reign started doing 6 pans once every month that are even better quality than these. These were great quality, but the Ensley Reign ones are even better. Of course, they're also a little bit more expensive. And I think what I'm gonna do, because I have a brown and yellow one in that one, I'm just gonna be like, I'm gonna put these to the side. Again, I don't have space for everything in my collection. And BH Cosmetics just isn't a brand that is producing eyeshadows anymore, so I'm saving some for nostalgia and because I actually use them. This is the Nomad palette from Juvia's place. This was almost like the original grungy warm greens and oranges palette. Not the original, but like one of the ones that first got hyped. I'm gonna save this one for reference. We have the Nubian 3 Coral. This I feel was a nice quality one, but I can get similar looks from this one as from where would I have it? Oh, yeah, I put it to the side. Oh my god, I'm confused. This one. This one is giving me pretty same this one, but this is even more my style because it's a little bit more warm toned. So I'm gonna save this one and I'm gonna get rid of this one. This one has really nice mattes, but again, I don't reach for Juvia's Place mattes at this time. I remember Tribe being one of my favorite palettes. I have not reached for this one in a hot minute, so we're gonna get rid of those. So I'm gonna save this one for reference, and then we have the Culture big palette, big one, and then we have the Culture 2. Let me see if we can just open them like this. Do I need these? No. And I don't know what happened with Juvia's Place, what they're doing with eyeshadows anymore. This is nice quality eyeshadows though, but they're super big palettes. I don't reach for them. I know other people love big palettes, and these are nice quality. Juvia's Place fell off. Not only did they fall off in not makeup quality, but in makeup innovation, they also fell off in how interested people are in their palettes. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, not a single person has asked me to compare any new palettes to old Juvia's palettes this entire year. Let's do some Oden's Eye, and I'll actually save the Ensley Reign for later because I have more Ensley Reign in other places. So these are all of my Oden's Eye palettes. There actually might be a couple here that are not they're not accounted for, I was gonna say, but yeah, basically because there might be some newer palettes somewhere. But yeah, these are pretty much all the palettes that I have. And I love Oden's Eye, I really do, and I don't foresee myself getting rid of any of these palettes, if I'm gonna be honest. I probably can get rid of this one though, because I know that they have discontinued the Oden palette now. This was a great travel palette, but I haven't been traveling with it this year, even though I've been traveling a lot. So I think I'm gonna get rid of that one. And I also think I haven't reached for this one, and I don't know if they still have it on the side. This is the Saga of Freya, the chapter 2. I like this color story with the oranges and greens, but I think I'm gonna get rid of that one too. But then we have the other palettes, the original Christmas palettes. I have the other ones here as well, but I just recently talked about them, so they're gonna be later up in this video. This was the Christmas Eve palette. This was the original, like the cool tone blue palette that they did. There's a couple of like warm tones sprinkled in here. This is the Merry Christmas palette. This is the red and green. It has a little bit of a twist because there are cool tone greens, there are warm tone greens. There are some almost like rose gold neutral tones in here as well. It is a great palette. It's hyped for a good reason. This is my collab palette that I did with Unasai. Well, one of them. Let me actually go get the other ones as well. I can get the other Unasai palettes that we're missing. This is the Hella palette, the original one. And I still have mine in the sleeve because the sleeve is different than the front. And then on the inside, this is mine well-used one. I do have one that's untouched as well, but this is a yellow, green, pink color story with some more sootiness at the bottom. I'm still very proud of this palette. Unfortunately, it's discontinued, but I think it's beautiful. This is the original Solmåne. It's a very bright, almost rainbow palette, but it has almost like a little bit of a pastel-y vibe to it. Jewels and Gems, absolutely love this one. It is like cool toned, muted, colorful palette. So muted that it's almost like an initial thing. You look at it and you're like, oh, is it neutrals? But it's actually not really super neutral. But I do think if you only love neutrals, you'll still enjoy that one. Where's the other one? I have, again, I'm gonna go look for my other Unasai and we can take things at the same time. This is the original Annette Giant Wolves palette. Such a pretty color story. This is the Hummingbird palette that Tina did. Very bright and fun. This is the Red Dragon that Judy did. So more of a colorful neutral palette, a really nice one. This is the second one that she did, Annette. This is the Mighty Monster. This is a little bit more jumbled up, but there are some really nice shades here that I wouldn't necessarily use this palette on its own, but I think it's a really fun palette. And then we have the Spring Dragon. Of the second releases, this was my favorite because it has some really nice pastels in here and the shimmers are incredible. Then we have Earth Wood palette by Tina. Again, same here. There's some really good individual shades in here. I wouldn't necessarily maybe use this palette exclusively my own. This is the re-release of the Norns palette. They re-released the Norns palette in the better and improved formula and in the cohesive, like almost square pans. This is a really nice palette. These shimmers at the bottom is some of the best shimmers that Unasai has ever released. And then we have the other collab palettes. This is the Flora Story that Amanda did. A muted purple green palette. The Sea Talk that Lauren May did. I really like this palette. I think this palette is an unexpected color story that makes a lot of sense, honestly. And then the Planet Spirit palette that Betty Jean did. This palette has created some of my favorite looks I've ever done. It's so bright, it's so colorful, it just makes you super, super happy. Let me go get my other Unasai palettes because like I said, I have more. Okay, so I found some more palettes and I also found, because I have in my office, a pile of palettes that I have displayed. I should probably change it around a little bit because I have even more friends that have done, as you can see in this pile, friends that have done palettes that I keep as decoration because it's cute. But let's start with even more Unasai. This is the Stone Rock palette. This probably is my favorite palette from Unasai. It has a white, it has a black, it has some neutrals, it has murky greens, warm greens. I just think that this is a very well-rounded palette and I really, really enjoy this palette. This palette came out this year. This is the Solmåne 2 Moon Wish palette. Whoop! And this has one of my favorite color combos was a brown with yellow. I've been really, really into that. And blues and purples. And it's just a very nice palette. This one is leaning mostly purple blues, but then there are some other shades in here as well. And this one, like you can make really nice like neutral looks as well with some of these shades. So definitely there are options in here. And this one has probably the prettiest packaging ever. Like this packaging is just actually like incredible. Then we have the Christmas palettes from last year. This is the Snow Dream palette. I actually really enjoyed this one. As I'm filming this one is still available. I think it's beautiful. The Hey Reindeer, also from last year. It's really nice, brighter, like it's colorful and brighter, and it has some like some yellows, some gold, some neutrals, red. And then this year they have the Silvery Bliss. This is like a more muted Christmas color story because it has greens and gold and red, but it's a little bit more muted, almost leaning a little murky cool tone. And then we have a really bright fun palette, which is the Rosy Jingle palette. And this is just such a bright palette. Honestly, I think this one will take you into spring as well. This yellow is so impressive. So impressive. I have a quite recent video about this one. And then I have my the other like collab palettes that I did with Unasai. As I'm filming this, these are still available, the last few ones, and they are on sale. This is the Trick or Treat. I love this color story. It makes me super happy even just to see this. It's such a fun color story. Greens and reds and just oranges. I had so much fun creating this. And then we have the little ghost palette, which again, Halloween themed. And this is more the brighter, almost like candy shades, the blues, the purples, a bright neon yellow. This row, you can see, this is a very well used row. Just honestly a bunch of my favorite shades ever. It makes me very, very happy. And yeah, these two palettes, I'm so proud of them. They're my colorful bright. It's just a dream. It's dream palettes. This one is also in my shelves. I'm going to show you more Unearthly in a bit. This is the Resurgence palette. This is Heather Austin and Unearthly Cosmetics. Pretty sure this one is still available. This one has brights, it has murkies, it has a lot of like duochrome interesting shades. Very, very fun palette. This one, I don't know if this is still available. Ofra is not really a brand I talk about on my channel, but this is the Ofra and Samantha March palette. I think I have the Ofra and Ali Dawson palette here somewhere as well. If I don't end up showing you that one, I do have that one as well. Again, Ali is one of my closest friends, so definitely want to keep those. This is the Life's a Draft, and there's another Heather Austin palette, and this is the one she did with Adept Cosmetics. Personally, I think this is the best palette Adept has ever done. I think the mattes are incredible. They make a lot of sense, and the shimmers are really, really easy to work with. And then we have, this one even has some dust on it. Can you see that? Dusty. This is the Club Nebula palette. This is the palette that I did with Kaleidos. Unfortunately, Kaleidos has not released anything this year. I don't know exactly why. But this was the first palette I ever did. Very proud of this one. I know a lot of people have this as their favorite palette. For me, I personally prefer the Hella palettes more, but it's simply because those are even more representing my style where I'm at right now. But this is a really fun color story. It's dark, it's moody, it has a lot of interesting shades in here, a lot of really good shimmers. I especially love this one, the one that's called Nebula. It's like this apricot, peach, fiery shade. It's a nice palette, discontinued since long, but I'm very proud of what I did with this one. Last ones here, I have a bunch of mini palettes. These are my Natasha Denona mini palettes, and I did actually quite recently do, let me put these out. I did quite recently do a video basically ranking all of my Natasha Denona mini palettes. If you're interested in seeing me swatch and talk about every single one of these, there is a video that is doing that, because I think I have basically every single one that's ever been released. I think there might be one that I missed or something. But if you were interested in hearing my thoughts about these, if you were wanting to dive into Natasha Denona mini palettes, I would recommend that video. I think at this point, I will just save them because I have so many of them. But I mean, one day I will for sure declutter them, but that day will not be today. But yeah, if you're interested in hearing your thoughts about these, there is a dedicated video. It came up this year, not too long ago, talking about each and every single one of these, and which one is my favorite and which one is my least favorite. Here we have some quads. These are ColourPop, and there is one Charlotte Tilbury. This Charlotte Tilbury one, I'm gonna keep it because I think this is the only eyeshadow I have from the brand. I think this is the Pillow Talk quad. I mean, does it make sense? No, but it makes sense in my collection for comparison value, so I'm gonna keep it. These ColourPop quads, I love the quality of these, and I do still travel with these. With that being said, I might be able to get rid of like maybe these two, maybe these three. These are like the ones that I reach for. I haven't traveled with them. They're a little bit more, this one is browns with bright blues, and like I like these a lot. I even have traveled with quite a few of these this year. I mean, this is the best quality, honestly, that ColourPop has ever made, and I don't know why they don't keep making more. Although they did do some brown ones for Christmas. This is the Secret Life of a Scorpio. So beautiful. I also love this one. This is the Bold and the Aries. These mattes are incredible, and I love this Fiery Peach here. And I also have been using this one quite a lot. Or is it? No, it's this one. The one that's the mango. On the mango. This is great too. So I do love these a lot. I really wish that they would do more. But I'm gonna get rid of a couple of them. But yeah, if ColourPop could just do more of these quads, please and thank you. Okay, new batch of palettes. I have so much here to talk about. Let's just honestly dig in and go through it. And again, not all of these brands are getting kept together because my collection did end up being a little bit messy at the end. This is Plum Perfection by DD Signature. This one is so pretty. I've never used it, but I'm gonna put this with my other quads so that I remember to travel with it, because I do go through my mini palettes every time I travel to bring some of them with me. So I'm gonna put it there. So we're definitely gonna be using that one. This is the Deep Sea Treasures by Clionadh. I think this is a super cute palette. This has only their special shadows. Really pretty, definitely keeping it. I think this came out this year. We have a little quad from LH Cosmetics here. This is the Shimmer Saga. This is really interesting shades, but I don't reach for these shades over my Clionadh one, so I think I might actually get rid of that one. We have the Tartlet Jewel. This is also a mini palette that I've been traveling quite a lot with, and I am gonna also keep this one with my mini palette so that I can remember to travel with it even more. If I want a neutral palette when traveling, this is actually a really good palette. I actually really like this one. I know, I'm surprised too. This is the Gloss Gods Incendio palette. This is the collaboration that they did with Margareta Gras. I wonder if she... Oh yeah, Margareta Gras. She is a Swedish YouTuber. This is a really, really good palette. I don't know if this is still available, but I think I'm going to put this together with those other palettes for like a showcasing. I think Margareta did a great job, and even though it's not available, I'm definitely keeping it. These are some Huda palettes. I've been trying to dive more into Huda this year. I think this one is still available. First time I used it, I didn't love it. These have a tendency of creasing on me, but I really do love the mattes in this palette. It's an all matte palette. This is the, yeah, that's the matte one. I wonder if I have the other one here as well. Not 100% sure. This is the Wild Jaguar. I think this is one of the better 9-pan palettes that she's had, and I think this one is still available as well. So I think these are really nice. I'm gonna keep these. I wonder if there's more Huda ones here. Not, oh yeah, here they are. Here is the other matte, the warm one. I'm gonna keep this one too, because I think that these 9-pans are really good, and this one is also really good, the nude medium one. So I'm gonna keep these from Huda. Here's the Sultry palette. This is the one that I actually I broke it a little bit, but I think I'm gonna keep it anyways because it is a good comparison palette from ABH. And I also have the Norvina. Oh my god, it has some shadow on it. This one is also a little bit broken. This one maybe. These are not okay. Sometimes you drop a palette, these plastic covers will not protect. This one is a little bit bump proof. These plastic ones are not. So I think I'm gonna get rid of this one. I also have the this one. This is also, these are all a little bit broken. I'll save this one, the sultry one, because I know that that one is still available, even though it is a little bit broken. I feel like I might have another one here, or maybe I gave that one away. Not 100% sure. I also have my Prada quad here. This is honestly really good quality. There's a 4th shade up here. I was surprised at how good quality this is. I'm definitely keeping it. I might even put this with my mini palette so that I can travel with it more. This is the Makeup by Mario, the all matte cool tone palette that he came out with. Really good quality. Definitely keeping it, more for comparison value than actually like me digging into it a lot, but it makes sense for my collection. I really like this palette. This is the Italian Spritz palette that they came out with, I think last year. I was very impressed by this one. The color story is super fun. The packaging is really nice. I think Too Faced did a really good job with this one. Definitely, it still smells. It still smells a little bit like sweet. And I thought that this was a really fun palette, especially like a mainstream palette. I thought it was really good. We have some palettes here. Again, it should probably go more into like a display than actually being in my collection. This is the Moonfall palette by Shroud. Is Shroud still around? Are they still a thing? I don't know myself. I I honestly have no idea. I think this palette has some really good individual shades, but this one is not a complete palette to me. This is not, for that reason, one that I reach for, because it has dark shimmers and only dark mattes and only dark shimmers. So I don't reach for this one a lot. There's nothing wrong with it, but I think I'm gonna actually get rid of that one. And let me see if I can put the Incendio together with Hello Bean. It's the one that Betty Bean did together with Shroud, and it's freaking bats. Oh, this one is a little bit... Something's been crumbling in here, but that's fine. I'm gonna keep these for display. And of course, Tiny Marvels. This is the one that beloved Mel Thompson did together with, God, I even forgot the name of the brand, Sydney Grace. We miss you still. And this is the palette she did. So I think I'm gonna put these in like a display pile. We have, we have even more Shroud here as well. This is the Geology Cosmetics Pilbara palette. I thought this was a really fun palette. I think I'm gonna get rid of it now because I haven't reached for it, but I like what this brand is doing, and I really hope they do even more things because I think they do fun things. I just think they still need to perfect their formula a little bit, and this packaging was so much better than the packaging they had for their second palette. It's still a really fun brand though. I cannot wait to see what more they do. I just have limited space in my collection, I'm gonna be honest with you. We have the Creepy Cute and the Creepy Cute 2. This is the original one, like the pastel palette. This is pretty old in my collection, and this one I think I have never used this one, so I think I'm actually gonna give this one away. I wanted to keep this in my collection for one more year to see if I would use it, but I haven't, so I'm gonna give this one away. Oh, here's another Shroud palette. This is the Peaches and Dreams. Oh, this one is... I mean, these have just been laying in my collection untouched, and still it broke. Some indie shadows, sometimes, especially hand-pressed ones, have a tendency of being a little fragile, which is a shame. That is one of the, usually I should say, one of the perks of doing it in a professional lab and not having hand-pressed shadows is that they are 99 times out of 100 it looked a bit more stable. So I'm gonna get rid of that one because that one is just absolutely smashed. This is the Smoke It Out palette. This is so nice. I've never used it. I'm gonna put this with my travel palettes. This is from LH Cosmetics. That would be a perfect travel palette. Ooh, here is the Blooming Basket by DD Signature. This is such an unexpected color story, and I did one of my favorite looks ever with this palette, so we're definitely keeping that one. We also have another DD Signature here, and I will say I did actually get the re-release of these. I think it's the Classic Autumn and the Jingle Bell Ruby. I'm pretty sure I have the re-release of these with even more improved mattes downstairs. So I think I'm gonna get rid of these. I'm fairly sure it's these two, and I'm gonna keep the ones that I have downstairs. That is the re-release of them. We have even more Gloss Gods here. This is the Vintage Glam. This is really nice, but this formula is a little bit unstable. I think they need to remove some oils out of this formula, but I think the palette is really beautiful. What's Your Power? These have some really good individual shades. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, I'm not in frame. These have some really good individual shimmers. The mattes are a little bit more weak in this, and it is a little bit more pastel. I think overall, Gloss Gods has amazing shimmers. Their mattes are okay, according to how I like to work with my shadows. And I think that these shimmers are incredible. Then we have Lavender Skies. I wonder if this, since this is in the sleeve, if I've never used it. Oh, look at that. That is so pretty. But it doesn't have any dark shades. I think I'm going to give this one away. I think this would serve a purpose to give away. And I think I'm going to get rid of that one. And I think I'm going to save the Vintage Glam one. This is the Sigma Beachy palette. I think Sigma has a really good eyeshadow quality. This one I haven't reached for since, so I am gonna get rid of that one. We have the Lottie London. I had a really fun time with this palette, but I love yellow and brown so much that I have this in other things with quality, like packaging, that I like more. Again, I am an unlimited space in my collection. We have some Gain Beauty here. We have, oh, this is Dots. I feel like I have another one here. This is like a brand that is a European indie brand, and I feel so bad because I haven't had time to dig into this brand, but they make amazing, both palettes, look at this, both palettes and singles. You can buy this as singles too, and honestly, like, look at this. I feel so bad that I haven't dug into this because look at how incredible this is. And I feel like these were singles. Yeah, 5 new singles, like pastel shimmers. I think they're like duochromes. Do you want me to use this in a video? Maybe a reel, maybe something. I'm definitely keeping it. I mean, it looks incredible. I mean, you saw it, you have eyes. This is more LH Cosmetics. I have even more LH Cosmetics. This is the Infinity Glam palette. I have not reached for this. This is a face and eye palette, so we are gonna get rid of this one. This is the Reload palette. This is a really nice palette, but I don't like it as much. I think this has a better color story, Blomma. So I'm gonna put that in my travel pile. Do we have any more LH Cosmetics here? Game Beauty. What is in the bottom here? Oh, this is the Citronata palette. I have not reached for this in a really long time. You know, I love yellows. I have not reached for it. This is a great palette though, but I haven't reached for it. If you're looking for an actually good yellow palette, if this is still available, this is Glam Shop. It's a Polish indie brand. It's literally called Glam Shop. I think if you search for Glam Shop Poland, you'll find them. I haven't reached for it though, but dang, this is good. I think I'm gonna keep this one for reference. It's a really good palette. Okay, let's go into let's start with Viseart. And then we can go into Game Beauty. This is the Dark Edit palette. Again, oh my god, these are so hard to show. This is a really, again, a good travel palette. I think I need to put the Viseart palettes together with my travel things because I have traveled with them, but I keep forgetting about them. And then we have the Bichouette. This one has some really cool shades. Again, this one for me it's lacking some light shades, but yeah, these are just great for travel, and I do like to bring small things when I'm traveling. This is one of the best purple palettes out there. This has some really good purples in there. This is the Bichouette palette. And then we have the Paris Edit. This is like a cool tone. Oh my god, I'm not showing anything. This is like a cool tone rose gold palette. I have actually traveled with this one as well. This one I traveled with recently. This is the Spritz palette. This red is really good. And this is like, I feel like Viseart are great, like staple. If you're looking for just, you can trust these shadows. If you're looking for oomph, if you're looking for like super blinding shimmers, those are not the ones, but you can trust this formula. This is the small one. This is the Viseart. I think it's called, yeah, the Paris Etoile. This is a mini one. This is like a smoky one. I mean, this would be perfect to travel with. Why haven't I? Because I keep forgetting. So I'm gonna put these with my travel palettes. And then let's talk about Game Beauty. This is the Fantasy palette. I love the packaging of Game Beauty, but I think I'm gonna get rid of these smaller ones because I feel like they have upped their formula and they have gone into other kind of packaging. And I like their formula more now. This is the Adventure palette. These were never bad, but they're not as good as their formula is now. It's a nice color story. This is the Harbinger palette. Harbinger palette. Like, look at this. And then just... But yeah, their quality is even better now. This is the Cyberpunk one. I thought this was a fun color story. And then the Victory one. I think this is the one that was like a neutral palette. No, it was like a neutral with a pop of blue. But the newer palettes, I really like these non-pans that they did. This is the Elemental Blast, so that you can see they're number 2, number 3. This is the neutral one. I like the quality of these a lot, so I'm gonna save these for sure. This is the blue one. This is the green one. I think this is my favorite. This, honestly, seeing this makes me want to use it. It's so good. And this is the red and like pinky coral one. And then we have the purple one. This one has a multi-chrome down here as well. And then this is the Metaverse palette that they came out with. I only saved one of them, but this one, the grungy one, love this color story. I loved playing with this one. So I'm gonna save these and I'm gonna get rid of their older ones. Oh my god, this table is turning filthy. Let's bring in some more contenders, I should say. I do have quite a bunch of Lethal Cosmetics over here as well. All of this is Lethal Cosmetics. Let's start talking about What's Up Beauty. I have that is a hair. Let's get rid of that. This is one of the prettiest packagings ever. It is absolutely incredible. And this is the, I think it's called Dragon Eye. And I'm going to say unfortunately. Unfortunately, What's Up Beauty does neutral mattes with colorful shimmers, which isn't always my favorite kind of formula, but this is really pretty. And this is the Geodes palette. Really nice quality palettes though. And this one you can see I haven't really played around with them a lot, but I'm gonna save this. This is definitely a brand I am keeping my eye on. I think they make exciting things. I do have a Modern Renaissance with eyelash glue on it. Forget you saw that. This is the Modern Renaissance. Mine is very lightly used. I am gonna keep this one for reference. I think it's interesting how people were so hooked on this palette, because now when we open it, it isn't that wowy now, is it? It's just like, okay. It's just okay. This is the Pretty Grunge by Huda. This was the holiday palette from last year. I am going to keep this one, again, for, oh my god, for reference. I think it's an interesting palette. Not exactly my favorite color story, but I think that a lot of people really like this, and I was impressed with the quality, even though I will say, and I know some people say that this is their favorite eyeshadow formula in mainstream. I think both Makeup by Mario and Natasha Denona has a better eyeshadow formula than this. That's just my personal opinion. The mattes are they're pigmented, but they're kind of thin, and there's a risk that you like whisk them away. That's what I would say about this. This is I think it's called like Subversive. Yes, this is a Subversive palette by Pat McGrath. I don't even know if this is available anymore. Pat McGrath only does pink palettes right now, if you didn't know. This one was a gift from my friend Karen Harris. I think you're supposed to open it like this. I will never get rid of this because it was a gift. I think Pat McGrath does really good eyeshadows, but I think they're overpriced. I think that a lot of money is going into the packaging, and a lot of money is going into the name, because you can get this quality for less money. I will die on that hill. We have some really interesting other palettes here. Oh, some more ABH. This is ABH. It was Nouveau, right? I thought this was a really good palette. I'm going to keep this one around a little bit more. I really like the quality of this. I love the looks that I did with this. I've had a lot of fun. And this is the Jackie Aina palette. I enjoyed Jackie Aina, even though I enjoyed her makeup content more than I enjoy her lifestyle content, because me and Jackie Aina, we do not have the same lifestyle. We do not live in the same tax bracket, but I do enjoy her palette, and I'm saving this one, even though it's not available for like, you know, sentimental reasons. This is my first ever palette from Denessa Myricks. This is the Groundworks Blooming palette. This is an all-in-one palette. It's like a putty. So this is a putty formula, and then you have a powder formula next to it. Honestly, the quality of this is really good. I highly recommend it. I do hope in the future that we get to see palettes from Denessa Myricks that has this powder formula and this putty formula and a couple of shimmers in there. I would absolutely love that, and I think that she would kill that. Actually, I will say, I met Denessa Myricks. She invited me to an event, and I told this to her. And she just smiled, and I don't know what that means, but let's hope that she makes that in the future. Not that she would listen to me, but I did actually. You know, very few times do you have the opportunity to actually tell the brands. So I got the opportunity, so I told her. This is a great palette though. This is a great palette. This is the Dragon Fruit palette by Clionadh Cosmetics. These have some really, oh my god, really nice shimmers in here. This one I'm saving more for sentimental value, because this isn't exactly the kind of shades that I don't reach for an all shimmer palette, but I love Clionadh and I love Emily Violet Marie, and I'm excited to have this one. So I'm keeping that one. Then we have some Nebula. This is the Side by Side Baby. This one was like very new last year when I was doing my declutters. This is nice quality, but I don't reach for neutral palettes that like look like this. I really don't. So I'm gonna actually get rid of that one. Then we have the Pat McGrath and Bridgerton. I am saving this one. I like this palette a lot. I think this palette is really good for what it is. Have I reached for it? No. But this is great quality. It really is. And I think it's really pretty. I just haven't reached for it, but I can't, yeah. The wheels of the makeup community is turning at an incredible pace, and you can't really keep up. And this is the Tropic Color, Sydney Grace, and the Tina from the Fancy Face. This is a really fun color story. It is very bright. It is very colorful. I had a lot of fun playing with this one. I think this is a great palette. This isn't my perfect color story, but it is Tina's perfect color story, and I a million percent respect her choices. What I will say about Sydney Grace, I think Sydney Grace has amazing mattes, but I think their shimmer formula is a little dated. It feels a little 2016. Not bad. I just think that they could improve it or come out with even more types of formulas. This is a nice palette though. I'm clearly keeping it. I really love Tina. This is Simply Posh. I think I have more palettes from Simply Posh. We will get to those later. I don't know where they are. This is the Aurora Lights palette. Such a nice palette. So I love this one. I absolutely love this one. I think this one is great. This is the Citrus Punch, and I think this is the old formulation because I have gotten the new one, and you're gonna see that in a bit because I have that somewhere in these piles. So I'm gonna get rid of this one because they did reformulate and make this one even better. Love this color story. This color story, the best color story they've ever made. I absolutely love it. Closely followed by the Aurora Lights, but I'm gonna get rid of the one that is reformulated because oh my god, I almost got rid of the Bridgerton one because clearly I'm keeping it. This is the Cozy Cabin. This is a holiday palette from last year. I think this is really beautiful. Simply Posh is a fairly new indie brand, so at this point I am keeping all of their palettes. I think this is really pretty. I think what I'm missing in Simply Posh is that I never have an inner corner highlight in their palettes, which is fine. I can always reach for something else, but that's just what I am missing from the brand. Let's talk about Lethal Cosmetics because I simply have too much. I had too much Lethal Cosmetics. Something has to give. At this point, I think I have been saving everything Lethal Cosmetics that I have, and that has got to change. Not because I dislike the brand, I love the brand, but they have some older releases. They have some singles that I don't reach for anymore and that I don't do comparisons of. If you want to see me swatch my Lethal Cosmetics singles, I have an older video, no single shadows, I think, except the multi-chrome ones, have come out since then. If you want to see me swatch those, and I have almost every of the original single shadows from Lethal Cosmetics, search for that on my channel. There is a video like this, me sitting like this. You can fully see me swatching all the singles. That is my reference. I'm gonna get rid of some of my singles, and I'm not doing it because I dislike the brand. It's just I can't keep up. These are some of those. I don't know. I think I might save the smaller palettes just to keep shadows in though. These are some multi-chromes too. I might rearrange and save the multi-chromes and not save the other ones. Okay, this is a pre-made palette that I'm keeping. This is the 1UP palette. Love this color story. Had so much fun with this palette. Think this is honestly a really good palette. Then we have the 2UP palette. I don't like this as much. The layout is a little bit more chaotic, and I don't like the color story as much, but I will still keep it because it contains like, it fits with this one. As I'm filming this, I haven't seen the holiday palette that they're releasing this year, but I will have a dedicated video on that. So if you are wanting to see what palette they released this year for holiday, that video is already live on my channel. This I think is the Night Moth palette. Really pretty. Or maybe this one is. I honestly, they didn't put the name on it. Or maybe it's here. No, it's not. Nope, nothing, nowhere. Really pretty palette. This is reminding me of old Nebula, and I say that in the best way. Lethal Cosmetics is a German indie brand. This is really pretty. Definitely keeping it. And then we have this one. It is a little bit more almost like a spring grunge. Love this shade here. Pre-made palette. We are keeping it. Let me see if we have any other like pre-made palettes here. Oh, we have the collaborations with Teresa's Dead. I am going to keep these for sure. The ones that she did. And then I think this one also is a pre-made palette. I don't know the name. They keep not putting the name in there. This one came with a couple of broken shades, but I fixed it. These shades are beautiful. Such a pretty one. And then we have, again, no name, just, oh, this is, I think this is Night Flower. I wonder if this is still my favorite palette from them. It's such a good palette. Now just looking at it, I'm like, oh, such a good palette. I also really love these. First of all, the packaging, stunning. These color stories, oh, this is such a good palette. And then the other one looks like this. Honestly, These are also like number 2 and number 3 favorite palettes from them. Absolutely incredible. Then we're coming into what I think are going to be some more singles. This, I'm not 100% sure. There are people screaming outside my window. I hope you cannot hear them. This is singles. I am going to get rid of that. This one, singles. I'm going to get rid of that. Singles. Singles. These are the multichromes. I am going to save those. I think I'm going to save those together here. I think these might be multichromes too. No, but this is a pre-made palette that I have made. Maybe I will save that one. And then, ooh, here are more the blushes. These are going in with the blushes. If you've already seen my blush declutter, you know I say like, oh, I have more things from Unearthly Cosmetics. I don't know where they are, but when I find them, just know I'm keeping them. This is that moment. I found them, just know I'm keeping these. I'm just putting them somewhere else. And then we have, same here, highlighters, love them. I'm just putting them somewhere else. And, oh, I love these shimmers. These shimmers are so incredible. There are some really bright, like special, like metallics over here. And then there are some super metallic shades, and there are some holographic ones in this one. Their latest shimmers singles that they released have been incredible, so I'm gonna keep some of those. And I do think, I wonder if this one is still available as a pre-made palette on their site. I might get rid of this one because I don't even remember this one, and then I'm gonna have to look and see if I am gonna redo these. I think I might redo these before I get rid of the singles, to make them into more like perfect palettes. So maybe I will do that. Boy, do I have some good palettes to show you. Don't expect too much to be decluttered from this pile. And with that being said, there really wasn't that much being decluttered from the last pile either. But here we are. We are going to go into Glamlite, Unearthly Cosmetics. I have even more Gourmande Girls, Glamlite, Adept Cosmetics down here. And this pile, this is Natasha Denona. And over here, this is Cosmic Beauty. There is so much. We are going to start with Unearthly Cosmetics. And I do think there might be some that I get rid of simply because I am running low on space. And I do think some of these are discontinued. Like this Surrender palette. This was part of a mystery box for Valentine's. She did not bring this one back, but I think this is a beautiful palette, but I'm gonna give that one to someone else. This one is a Dreamer palette. I think this is, first of all, the artwork is incredible. And this is like a cool toned pinky blue palette. This one is still available. It's a beautiful palette. I'm definitely keeping that one. Then we have Fall Magic, also still available. Let's see if I can show you clearly. This is a beautiful palette. It has the grungy green and the purples and the pinks. It's just a really, really nice palette. And then we have Get Groovy. This is a rainbow palette. This was part of a summer mystery box. And I think I will get rid of this simply because it's not available anymore. And I'm short on space, and I do have quite a lot of rainbow palettes. You will see that later on in the video. Then we have Sorcerer's Smoke. This is such a beautiful palette. Look at this. Look at this muted neutral palette. Really, really pretty. Absolutely beautiful. We will be keeping that one. Then we have the Sleepover palette. This one is not available anymore, but I do love the color story of this one. But this one has the old, bigger pans, and I will get rid of this one, but I love this color story. I hope it comes back in like an updated version. Then we have Vitality. The owner, Amanda, did say she was going to bring this one back in a updated formula and version. I have not seen that yet though, but with that being said, I love this palette, but I think I will declutter it. This is one of the rainbow palettes that I really enjoy. I love the twists and the turns, I love the shimmers, I love the undertones, but it's not available anymore, and it hasn't been available for a really long time, and I hope at some point it comes back in a new version. This is Dead of Night. This is a beautiful palette. We are definitely keeping this one. And then we have the In the Dark. I don't think this one is available anymore, so I will get rid of that one, and I'll keep the Dead of Night. Then we have the Lore palette. This used to be my favorite palette from the brand for a really long time, but now it's actually something else, and I will show you that one later up because I think that's in a different pile. But this is the Lore palette. Absolutely beautiful. I will be keeping this one as well. And then we have the Daily Grind palette. I like this palette. Okay, let me rephrase. I can't open it. Magnet's too strong. I really like this palette, but she came out with a high temp palette. I don't think this is in that pile. That's the one I'm talking about, which is my new favorite palette from the brand. So I'm gonna get rid of this one simply because I am loving the high temp. Then we have Devour palette. This one is still on the website. Beautiful palette. Even for the holiday season, the shimmers in this one, they look white, but they're like toppers. Absolutely incredible. Then we have the Don't Be Jelly palette. Also such a beautiful palette. The shimmers in this one is incredible. Really like the color story. Definitely keeping it. Oh, this is the blush palette. I've totally forgot this one exists. I really hope we can get this in singles. I'm gonna get rid of it simply because I don't reach for it. This is the Not Normal palette. Ooh, I think they have a sale right now. Maybe I should pick up the reformulated of this one. This is me thinking I should take, because there is a reformulated with smaller pants. These pants are too big. Nobody needs this big pants. So I think I might go and pick that one up myself. This is me thinking I might take a break right now and do that, because I do like that color story, and she did come up with a new version of it. This is this Spring Magic. Beautiful palette. Beautiful palette, also still available. I will be keeping that. Oh, and here I see we have some Glamlite. I think all of these might be Glamlite, and I think a bunch of these are Glamlite too. And then we have some Glaminatrix. And oh, here's another one of the, oh, such a good palette. Okay, let's go into some Glamlite. This is the Ghostface, the original one, that they released last year. I'm gonna get rid of this one. I never reach for a color story like this. It's just gray. It's just gray. And I know some people love that. I just don't. So I am gonna get rid of this one. It just doesn't make sense for me. This is the Chucky palette. This one I think is an amazing color story. It is deep reds, burgundies. There is some smoky tones. There is some silvers and a black. I just think that this one has a lot of fun things going on. And this one I think they did a great job with. So this one we are keeping. The Betty Boop palette, quite honestly, might be one of my favorites, if not my favorite palette from the brand. I think the mistake they made is this stark red background. It's making the palette seem unapproachable, but honestly, if you look at the video where I'm using this palette, the shimmers are absolutely incredible, so beautiful, and the mattes, just the color story is so much more than you think it's going to be when you see this red one. It's truly a beautiful palette. Then we have the Friday the 13th. I like this color story more than I like the Ghostface one, so I am going to keep this one around. I have not used this one in a hot minute. I think I'm going to get rid of that one. This is the Michaela Part 2, the small one. This is the Frosted Flakes. I love this one. Do they still have this one? Such a beautiful palette. I think I'm going to save this one because I really enjoy it. This one, I thought the shimmers in this one was really good, but I didn't love the color story as much. The shimmers are great though. I think I'm going to get rid of this one. The Strawberry Shortcake. The Barbie palette is incredible. The Barbie palette is so good. Oh my god. Do you see the stains around here? Wonder what happened there. That's actually like crazy bananas. But yeah, this palette is beautiful. It's really beautiful. I'm going to save this one for a bit longer. Oh, and here is the big Michaela palette. I thought this palette had some, it had some really good shades. I especially love that blue row in the bottom. It's a beautiful blue row. I think I'm gonna get rid of it because I haven't reached for it for a really long time. And I think that this palette, quite honestly, it's a little bit too big. Let me see where else I'm putting palettes that I'm not keeping. Let me put them over here. We have the Hershey palettes. The milk chocolate one, I haven't reached for this a single time. There's nothing wrong with the quality. It's just a little one noted. The cookies and cream is really beautiful. It is a beautiful palette. Do I need this in my collection though? I need to save some space. That's the problem. This might be my other unexpected favorite from Glamlite. The Glamlite and Garfield palette. This is such a good palette. Like, incredible quality. so much better than you think it's gonna be. I'm definitely keeping this one. This one and the Betty Boop are like the unsung heroes of Glamlite. These two palettes, the ones that was like is it Nightmare on Elm Street? That's what it is. The quality of these are not as good as their other palettes. I don't know if they made a different factory. I don't know what they did. Color stories are nice, but the quality isn't as good. These I love though. Absolutely love them, the Scooby-Doo ones. I think these are so fun. I absolutely adore these. Absolutely adore them. We're definitely keeping those. And I think that might be all the Glamlite. Oh, okay. Wow, I really did not think we were going to get rid of that many palettes from those two brands, but they have been releasing a lot of palettes, so that might be why. This is a Gourmande Girl palette that's going to go together with the other palettes. This is the Nueva Vida. This is a collaboration with Steph's Beauty Stash. And this is what that palette looks like. You can tell it's like neons in here. Very fun, very bright. I love how different this palette is because it is truly different. If you have a lot of colorful palettes, this one will still be different to your collection. And I think they did a great job with this one. Definitely keeping it. Then we have some Glaminatrix palettes. Let's do those first. This is not Glaminatrix, and this is actually we can do first. This is the Ultimate Cappuccino palette by DD Signature. This is a really fun palette. I am going to be keeping this one too. These shimmers, impeccable. Here is more Glaminatrix, and this is Adept. Okay, Glaminatrix Sugar and Spice. This is a very interesting palette. It has some very interesting shades in here, and these are not my favorite tones, I will say. They're more like cool tones. So on me, this looks very gray. There is not mattes for me in this palette. Although I do like how this looks, and I do like these shimmers, and I do like this palette. This isn't for me, so I know somebody else will get better use out of this one. The Rich Romantic, this is beautiful, and I love like the mattes in here. I think this is beautiful. I do wish that some of these special shades, I think you can see it, that I don't know if you can see in the mirror here, that they're leaning a little green. And I wish they would have almost not done those special shades because they don't need to have, I think there are 3 multichromes in here that have a green base or a green flip. We didn't need that. This is a beautiful palette still though. I do like it. I'm gonna keep that one. Pretty in Pastels is a very interesting palette to me. Oh, this one is a little bit broken actually. Oh my God. Get back here, baby. Get back. Look at that. Look at that, so pretty. This has, for me, this works as an all-in-one palette. I think this is a very interesting palette. I'm gonna keep this one. Into the Night is a palette that has interesting shades, but for me, this wasn't my favorite color story from them, so I'm actually gonna get rid of this one. Then we have Glamorous. I don't think that they do this palette anymore. Oh, this might be my favorite palette from them. It's so beautiful and rich and lovely. And then we have Nocturnal. This one I do know that they still do. This is super beautiful too. Oh, what a beautiful. Okay, I really like those. Let me keep those ones. Let's get into some Adept Cosmetics. I do have a face palette here. This is Amy Love's face palette. It's like a pink little dream. I am gonna actually give this one away. I don't do pink cheeks. I know she loves pink cheeks. I don't. It's just not something I do, and I also don't love face palettes, so for me to reach for a face palette I have to really love the entire thing. And for me, this is perfect if you love pink cheeks and really blinding cheeks. It's just not my journey. Her palette though, look at that, such a fun one. It is a cool toned, again, like cool tone with a little bit of a twist, because there are some different undertones in here. There are some different shades in here. The background, since it is shiny, is making it a little hard to show you like close up. There are some really interesting ones in here, and if you love cool tones and if you want to have like a little bit of a different cool tone palette, you will love that one. Let me put this one to the side. Then we have the Element 115. This one I bought myself. It's a very interesting palette. I really like the mattes that they put in here, and I really like the different like undertones of the shimmers. I always will forever wish that Adept put as much thought into their mattes as they do into their shimmers. This is a really nice palette though. I'm keeping it. And this is the Sumerian Sunset. Love this palette. The shimmers in here are my favorites, I think, that they've ever done, except the Heather Austin palette, because these warm I'm warms. I love warms, I really do. And I really love the mattes here as well, even though, again, I wish we could have like 2 or 3 more mattes. I think that would be amazing. And then we have the Cyborg Choir. This is a very interesting color story. I don't pick up everything from Adept because it doesn't always make sense for me in my collection, especially since they're so shimmer heavy. Loving this color story though. I kind of want to dig into this right now. And there are some holographic shimmers in here, which are super pretty as well. Let's get into some Natasha Denona, because I have a lot. Here is the Lila palette. Now that she has released the Roxa palette, which I will probably be showing at the end, because I do have some palettes that are like, they're in my collection, but I haven't like reviewed them yet, so I put them in a different place. But now that I have compared this one to the Roxa palette, and the Roxa palette is much better than this one, I think it's time to say goodbye to this one. I think that one has got to go. I really hope that all of her 129 palettes are getting some revamps. This is the Circle Loco palette. I wouldn't mind getting a revamp of this palette as well. I think this was such a fun palette. I love the idea of this like circus palette. I'm gonna keep this one. Then we have another 129 palette. This used to be my favorite palette from Natasha Denona, but another one has come into its place, and this is the Metropolis palette. I really hope that in the future we can get a Metropolis palette reboot, and I really hope that she doesn't lose the essence of Metropolis the way that she lost the essence of the gold palette when she released the golden palette. Metropolis is a warm neutrals with oranges, yellows and mustards, and warm greens and a couple of blues. Please don't lose that. It's such a good palette. The Viva palette, I feel like she has probably released her new version of this now, because she has released so many neutral palettes. I'm actually going to get rid of the Biba palette. I think the mattes in these are incredible. The shimmers are not great in this palette. They're just okay. Pastel palette, okay. From now on, I'm probably not going to declutter a single palette. I love Natasha Denona. I love their formula. I don't see myself decluttering any of them. Don't come for me. Pastel palette. Sunrise palette. This is an unsung hero. It's so good if you love warm tones. The shimmers in here are so incredible. This is probably one of my least favorite midi palettes, the Retro Glam. I just think that a lot of these shades are a little samey on the eyes, and it's not my favorite. I don't think that the shadows that are dark, I wish that we had something to darken this up with that wasn't, I don't know. I don't think the composition of that palette was perfect. This is the Trio Chrome palette. This is another one of our bigger palettes. I wouldn't mind if we remade this one into a midi palette either, and maybe made the multichromes even better, because she has done better multichromes since. This is a retro palette. I love this one. I stand by that this palette is incredible. The range of this palette, from berries to mauves to neutrals, from deep to light, one of my favorite palettes. I think it's incredible. This is the bronze palette, probably my favorite neutral palette from Natasha Denona, even though it's missing a light shade for me. But again, these are my kind of shades. I just think this is really nice. I also do like the I Need a Nude though, because I think that this one has range. I think it's really nice. Again, the golden palette, I think it is missing the elements of the gold palette, which is that they had that lime chrome, they had a pop of teal, and I think that this one just falls, like, some of these shades are just very similar. You could have omitted that for a lime chrome. I really think you could. This also not my favorite, but I have used this for comparisons a lot. The Glam palette. It's a lot of people's favorite because it's cool tone without being gray. This might be my least favorite though, because the Xenon is just gray. On me, someone has a warm undertone. There are no undertones in this one. If you have a warm undertone, they're all grays. I can tell you that right now. There is nothing leaning blue. There is nothing leaning pink. They're all grays. This is the Sendo palette. I also think that this palette is much better than it's given credit for. I love this one. I think this one, Breath, is just absolutely incredible. I don't know. A lot of people didn't love that one, but I think it's amazing. My dream palette is a really nice one too. It's almost like a very dramatic burgundy leading neutral palette. I think that this one makes incredible looks if you like neutrals and want to be dramatic. This one, I need a warm palette. For me, this was a little bit disappointing because I don't think it's very warm. I think that these shades are very neutral. Then we have something that's leaning a little warm here, but I'm missing contrast in this one. I feel like it's a little samey. Love palette. I love the love palette. I love the pink and the purples. A lot of people are saying that this is the same as the Roxa palette. I think the Roxa palette is leaning much more purple than this is, and I also think the Roxa palette has leaning a little bit more on the cool tone side. This one is very much warm tones with just a hint over here of cool tones, but that's just personal opinion. If you don't wear a lot of reds and pinks and purples, it's all going to be the same to you, but if you love pinks and reds and purples, you will definitely see the differences. I think it's just a matter of, same with me with neutrals, sometimes I'm like they're all the same, but if you really love neutrals, you can really tell like the undertones and the differences. Then we have the Yucca palette. This is my favorite Natasha Denona palette at the moment. I mean, you can tell. It's yellows, it's warm greens, it's beautiful. I think there's variation in this. I love that it's not a monochromatic palette. I love we have a cool tone green here. We have warm tones, we have browns, we have yellows. I love this one. Absolutely incredible. This one I have only saved for comparisons. I don't think, for me, if you don't, okay, how do I put this? If you're not the kind of person that just does a one and done on the lid and is out the door, like me, you're not gonna like this. This is for the person who just wants something easy. They don't care about variation that much. They don't care about creating a full look, because this is not a full look. These are too sheer to be eyeshadows. Don't think you're gonna be able to use those as mattes if you like the same looks as me. So for me, I'm actually, this one I will get rid of because I'm gonna have to stop buying these face. I say that now, but I'm sure I will buy another one if she releases it. Also, this is the Cranberry palette. This is a 5-pan palette before she did all of her 5 pans as minis. It's a beautiful palette, but I don't reach for it, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Okay, let's go into what's gonna be a pretty easy pile, because there is just no way that any of this is being decluttered, okay? I can tell you that right now. This is Cosmic Beauty. They used to be Cosmic Brushes, and these are the palettes that they have released so far. I have each and every one of them, including the first one that they released that I think is no longer available. That's called the Royal Rose. This is one of my favorite formulas of indie. It's an incredible UK indie brand. They make amazing eyeshadows at really, I don't want to say affordable, but like reasonable prices. And I love their color stories. I love their qualities. And again, I think this one might be discontinued, but I still really, I like how it looks. I'm not going to get rid of it. It's a fun color story. And it's a fairly new indie brand in the grand scheme of things. So I don't want to get rid of anything. I want to save it as it is. This is the one that they got really popular with. This is the Serenity palette. Incredible color story. Like actually incredible color story. This was my favorite palette of I think 2 years ago. Absolutely beautiful. Love, love, love. Then I think they came out with the Muse palette. It's a little bit more grungy. I know a lot of people who, oh my god, whose favorite color story, like this is their favorite color story. It's a little bit more leaning neutral, but still colorful. It's really fun. And then they did the Delicious Delights. It is very bright. I love this. Very bright, very fun. Loving the lighter, brighter tones. It's almost like pastel, but bright. I'm absolutely blown away. I think the next one they did might have been this one or the Gothic one. I'm not 100% sure. This is Winter Wonderland. I think this was my favorite palette of last year. I think this palette has done something that a lot of brands are not able to do, which is a full palette of mints, teals, blues, purples that are all good quality. Because these kind of shades are notorious for being really hard to formulate, but they were able to do a full palette with all of these shades, and all of them are incredible. And I think that that's the reason why this is still a reigning champion for like my favorite palette from Cosmic Beauty, with that being said, I probably love the other color stories more, but I'm just so impressed with how they were able to get this quality with these tough shades. Gothic is their smaller palette. This is honestly an incredible palette. It is a purple, burgundy, like warmer purple palette. It has black, it has some really interesting shimmers. This is a purple, like iridescent topper that is absolutely incredible. I think this palette is beautiful, and one of my favorite looks I've ever done was made with this this Gothic palette. Then they came out with the neutrals and the cool tones. Basically, it is like a spin of like cool tone neutrals. This one is a little bit more on the colorful side. It has blues, it has grays, it has more cool tone neutrals up here. This is leaning maybe a little bit more blue than like neutrals, but it is an incredible quality like color story, and just the shadows are great. This is my kind of neutral palette. So warm, so yummy. The mustards, the reds, everything is just incredible. But a lot of the browns are actually more neutral leaning. So if you want to make it more neutral leaning, just skip a couple of these warmer shades and you'll be fine. This is an incredible multi-chrome topper that is like a peachy golden. And this is a, I don't know if you can see in here. I don't know if I can show you in the mirror. Yeah, I think you can see it in the mirror. You can see it's like a red base with a green shimmer. Incredible palette. And this is the latest one that they released. This is the Undergrowth palette. Yummy greens, murkies, absolutely stunning. I love these shades. I love that there is a pop of cool tones up here. This is an incredible palette as well. Overall, this brand is just amazing. 10 out of 10 recommend, not getting rid of anything. Another big pile of eyeshadows, and we are again, these are all indie brands. I'm pretty sure these are all indie brands. There might be some other that I have like slunk through, but we are gonna go through these, and I don't know if we're again actually declutter that much here, because indie brands is the backbone of my channel. I love reviewing indie brands. So if I end up like decluttering less, oh my god, this is actually dusty. Don't be too mad at me, but this is like what I do on my channel, is reviewing indie brands. So if you're interested in these kind of like eyeshadow palettes, if you're interested in hearing what's going to come out in 2025, this channel will definitely be the place for that. Let's start with Gourmande Cosmetics. This is the All Done Up palette. I think this is, even though this is neutral, this might be my favorite color story from Gourmande, because this is like a color story. I love the twists and turns of this one. There's undertones, it is warm, it is cool, the shimmers are incredible, and it's a little bit more curated, and this is the smallest palette they've ever done. So I do think that this might be my favorite, and I hope we get to see more palettes in this format, like a little bit smaller. What is this, like 20? Yeah, I think this is a 20 pan. This is great. Please. Maggie, let's get more 20 pans from Gourmande Cosmetics. I also think this palette, like the color of it, the lip, it's just a really cool palette. This is like covering the entire screen. This is, let me put the All Done Up here so we can get it to be even. This is the palette that they did with Alice Atlantis. Nobody needs this many shades. Okay, let me rephrase. If you are a working artist, I'm saying like Alice Atlantis is, I think she does a drag. This will make sense. But this is an incredibly flushed out rainbow palette, to the point where it's like, it's so big. This is a table. Like, you can see it's taking up the entire screen. I don't love big palettes like this. With that being said, some of the shades in here, especially this top, like, and these like orangey reds here, some really interesting undertones going on, and especially these two first rows here. And I wish that instead of giving us everything, Gourmande would focus a little bit more on curating the interesting undertones that they clearly can do. I will keep this palette because I think I have all the Gourmande palettes, except the face palette that she did. This is so big it doesn't even fit in my cupboard. I have to put this on the side. I don't love that. That is my thoughts on that. This is the Longing palette. This is one of her newer palettes. This is a really nice cool tone palette. Again, if you're looking for a cool tone palette that has everything from neutrals and colors, I think that you will be really happy with this one. Then we have the Little Miss She Never Misses. This is a collab that she did. This palette, I have a full review on this one. This palette has a couple of very similar shades, which I feel took down a little bit of the excitement of this palette. A bunch of these shades on me look very similar. And also these two shimmers here, I can barely see the difference between them. Even when I swatch them and look at them close up, they're very, very similar. Quality is beautiful though. Quality is absolutely beautiful. Lure is a beautiful palette and the packaging is really cute too. Again, this is something. This is a curation. Really loving this. And this row is incredible because this is a cool tone brown row that actually looks brown on me. It looks cool tone brown, it doesn't look gray. So if you're looking for taupes for a warm skin tone, this row here will definitely give you that. Oh, and this one, Sugar and Grunge. Oh, also so pretty. This is what I'm saying. These interesting undertones that are going on over here, almost like a pastel pea. Very interesting. And I do wish we could play around more with like that kind of thingamabob. This is the Machina palette. I think that this palette would have benefited because the more I look at this, and I actually really like, again, the undertones of this palette is beautiful. I don't like these two rows next to each other. They don't look appealing next to each other, in my humble opinion. I think the color story in this is incredibly interesting, but I think this would have benefited from a different background in black. I think black is making this look harsher than it needs to be. This middle row here is probably one of the most favorite rows that she's ever done. This like green, murky, yellow, it's beautiful. This Cyborg here is incredible. I think this palette has so many good shades. I just think that the background being so stark, it did take away from a little bit. This is the Surge palette. I think this one is discontinued. This is the rainbow palette that had a neon row. True neons, the ones that actually like glow under black light, are really hard and expensive to manufacture nowadays. So it's like a grungy rainbow palette with neons. I think this one is discontinued, but I'm gonna save mine. And then we have the Primal palette. I think this one might also be discontinued. This was more a brighter, true rainbow palette. And this one was very much for the Instagram artist, which I also think that like maybe that is the bread and butter of Blend Bunny, the Instagram artist, but I don't need this big of a white and I don't need this big of a black. I love a white and a black in a palette, but I don't need them to be the size of a setting powder. Again, in my humble opinion, that's just how I feel. I'm still gonna keep it though. This is when she was playing a little bit around with the layout, and I don't mind because she was saying that this was supposed to look like a box or like a bag of mixed candy or like sprinkles inside. So it's it's a jumbled up pastel palettes with some grounding darker shades so you can do a full look. I really love the quality of this palette. I think it's actually really incredible. If you're looking for a pastel palette, this would be one of the ones that I would recommend to you. I'm also going to show you another one that I really enjoy. With that being said, I think I prefer something that is a mix between jumbled and the rows. I like them to be organized in clusters, and I don't think that this is giving like clusters. Still a really good palette though. This is the original. This is the blends. It's a rainbow palette that has a couple of interesting undertones, and I do think that this is a really beautiful palette though. Again, if you're looking for a rainbow palette with mattes, I would steer you in this direction. I would say maybe that one is the one that you should get. And then we have the Dollhouse. This is a really beautiful, if you are into mauve neutrals, but you want to get some different shades as well, you want to have some options. You have so many mauve neutrals, but still a little bit of like peachy ones, purpley mauve ones, and then a row of olive greens here. Again, so many good shades in here. I think this is a really good like neutral leaning palette. Now, while we are here, let's do a little bit of Bella Beauté bar as well. I think I have most, if not all, of my Bella Beauté bar here. Again, this palette, this is the Best Mattes palette. This is a collaboration with Ellie Starr and Brittany Huffman. This is too big. You can tell it's too, I can't store this in my cupboards. I have to store it outside of my cupboards. And for me, when it's too big to even be stored, it's too big. With that being said though, the mattes in this one are really good quality. These are extremely good quality mattes. These are magnetic as well, so you can move them around. Again, if you're looking for a rainbow palette, this one has a lot. This one though is a little bit different from the blends palette because it has different undertones. And maybe if you were getting a second rainbow palette, like you love the idea of a rainbow palette, you have one, you use it, you would like to get a second one, this one has a lot of like different undertones and fun, exciting colors in there. I will say though, it's too big. It's too big. It's that's not what she said, but I'm definitely saying it. This is the Basic Witch. Don't love the packaging, but the inside is one of my favorite palettes from them. It's honestly an incredible color story. I do have looks with this one, both on Instagram and on YouTube. It is really, really incredible. Bella Beauté Bar also has one of my absolute favorite formulas. And this is the recently The Influenced. Again, not my favorite cover, but oh, this inside is just beautiful. These kind of shades here just make me so happy. This is an incredible corner. Really, really beautiful palette. This is the Sun and the Sea. This is a reproduce of an older color story. This one has incredible formula, but I wish that they would have been a little better at curating this one. These two blues are too similar. These four browns are too similar. They should have curated this one a little bit better instead of just reproducing an old palette in new. They should have worked a little harder on getting it even more perfect. I might get rid of this one because I think the quality is great, but if I'm gonna reach for a Bella Beauté Bar palette, it just will not be that one. Then we have the Melted Mattes. Okay, look at this one. Melted Mattes and Molten Chromes. I have redone mine a little bit and you can see it here. So the shimmers that you see here are actually supposed to be in the Molten Chromes, and in the Molten Chromes, these mattes were supposed to be in this bigger palette, but I just moved these around a little bit because I didn't want an all matte palette with a shimmer palette on the side. I kind of wanted a mix, and I also thought that it was there was a couple of shades that were great, but like just a little bit redundant. So I made a mixed palette instead, and I think this is great. This is a neutral palette with some bright juicy shades and then a row of neons. It's beautiful. I am gonna keep it, but just letting you know that I did change mine a little bit. The Secret Garden. This is one of those palettes that truly is one of the most beautiful color story. I mean, you saw my Hello palette before. You know I love a pink and a green color story. This has some really interesting shades. The one thing I will say about Bella Beauté Bar is that their palettes are usually very expensive because they're usually very big and they have a lot of special formulas in there. So they're a little bit of an investment. Part of me is like, I kind of wish that this palette was a little bit more curated, that we have gotten rid of maybe like one row or something to make it a little bit smaller. But at the same time, each and every one of these shades are absolutely incredible. But maybe we could have gotten rid of one or two of these greens. Maybe we could have gotten rid of one of the two darker green metallics, maybe one of the pinks. There are things we might have been able to do to just get this down a little bit. It is very large and in charge. This is a strange and unusual. They did reformulate this one and make it the mattes even better. I do not have that one. I will say the color story is really cute. The shimmers are incredible. I was one of the ones that did say that the mattes needed a little bit of work, and I'm excited if they have worked on that and made them even better because this palette has a really fun color story. This is the collaboration that they did with Deanna Nicole. This is the Ultraviolet palette. It is a purple palette through and through. It has a lot of variation. It has pastels, it has dark shades, warmer, cool tones, a lot of shimmers. Personally, I love when palettes have more than one color, but if you love purple, this is a really good palette. Then we have the Dead Roses. This is a beautiful color story. I like when there is more than one shade. That is red and pink and this coral and purples, and the shimmers in this one is truly incredible. It's a really, really incredible palette as well. Then we have the Bejeweled palette. This is more, to me, this is more of a companion palette because this one is lacking for me, someone who has a light skin tone. This is lacking for me some lighter shades, something to blend out with, some inner corner shades. Quality of this palette is really good. If you love jewel tones, you will literally have everything you need here. And then we have again two really, really big palettes. This one is very reflective. It's the Smoky Glam. This one needed some editing. The quality of this one, incredible. The size of this one, astronomous. Like, there are a lot of shades here that you could have cut. With that being said, the quality is incredible. If you look at this and you're like, wait, these are the only shades I need, these are the only shades I use, this has everything I want, you will love this palette. The quality is amazing. This needed some editing. The Pastel Garden is also incredibly big, and I think the same here. These are so many pastels, and I love pastels, but there are some editing that could have been made with some of these shades to make it a little bit smaller. With that being said, I mean, I love this palette. I think it's a great palette, but this definitely could have been edited down a little bit. So I love Bella Beauté Bar. I think they make amazing, amazing things. But yes, some of the things, oh my god, I'm trying to put these back. Some of the things are a little bit too big. And also like I said, with that super big palette, this one I can't even fit in my cupboard. So it's clearly, and so heavy. I just, yeah, it's a little bit large, and there's a hair here. Go away. Oopsie. Let's see if I can reorganize a little bit here so we can slot this one in. We have the Made by Mitchell quad that I had. This is really, really, really good quality. I did actually really enjoy this one. I'm gonna save this one in my travel palettes and see if I travel with it. I hate the packaging. It's awful, like truly awful. But I'm gonna save it in my and see if I travel with it. Then I have a palette from Floris's. This one is the Floral Engraved Phoenix Makeup Palette. I think this quality is really nice, but I will say I haven't reached for it, so I think I am going to be decluttering that one. This is the Sigma and Angela Bright. Really good color story, really good quality. I do really love Sigma, and I really like Angela, so I will be saving this one. This is the palette they came out with this spring, the Cool Neutrals. It's a really nice neutral palette. I really like this corner here. That's not even cool, but I think that this is a cool palette for people who don't like cool tones. That's what I would say about this one. I'm gonna keep it. Beauty and the Beast. These are nice like collector's palettes though. Maybe I should save it. Also with the Alice in Wonderland. This one I like even more because it's got some more color in it. I also really like these. Yeah, I actually told the owner of Sigma that Sigma is the only brand where I actually save the inserts because they're usually super cute. And we have the Cinderella one. So I think I'm going to save these Disney ones. I somewhere here have the one they came up with this year as well. I just haven't had time to play with that one because I was so busy at that time. But I do really like Sigma, so let me save those as well. And then we have another one of the Gourmande Girls palette. This is the Gourmandises. I actually did not love this quality. The color story is perfectly fine. There's a couple of shades so you can deepen up with. This is a pastel palette with some very interesting shimmers. The shimmers creased on me immediately, and I think the mattes are too thin. Not my favorite from them, but you saw me save a lot of palettes from the brand. I do love this brand. I just think that this palette wasn't as good as I'm used to from the brands. This is the Simply Posh Coastal palette. This is their newest palette. Definitely saving this one. This one came out this year. It's more a muted, I don't know how to explain it, but it's really pretty. Really, I mean, you can see what it looks like. It's a super pretty palette. We're keeping that one. I also do have their other, the one that I talked about. I have that here somewhere as well. I'll show you. It's in this pile. This is the Unearthly Cosmetics Gargoyle palette. It's one of their newer palettes. It quite recently came out. It's really pretty, like blue, mute. It's had almost like a gray cast over it. It's really pretty. And then we have the DD Signature. This is the Chromebook Volume 1. This is an all shimmer palette. I don't use palettes like this, so I'm gonna give this away to someone who's gonna absolutely love it. No point in me hoarding stuff that I don't reach for. This is the Charmer palette. Is this still available? I think I'm gonna get rid of this one. There was one in a mystery box. I think the colors are really fun in this one, but this is one of the least cohesive color stories that the brand has had. I love the front though, and I love the shades individually. There's something about having these two next to each other. The more maybe this one in here, this row. It's giving chaos. This looks more cohesive. This is giving chaos. So I am actually going to declutter that one. Again, short on space. This is the Sweet Aesthetics from DD Signature. This is a matte, all matte palette. There's nothing wrong with this palette, but I'm going to get rid of it because I have other matte palettes I reach for over it. This is one of my favorite palettes from Gourmand Girls. This is the Peach Perfect. I think this palette is absolutely incredible. Definitely keeping it. Oh, here's a palette. This is the first palette from Simply Posh. This was before I had tried the brand, and they actually sent this one to me because they were like, oh, we know you're missing this one. So I have never tried this one, but it looks incredible. I think this was the first one that they released. It's called Fairy Tale Fairies. I think the color story is beautiful. This is, we all know that I would love this corner over here. Beautiful. I've never tried it, but it looks incredible. And this is their new and updated formula. Then we have the Nomad palette that came out earlier this year. This is the Iceland Wild Atlantic Way. This is the like more green Ireland palette. Really nice palette, came out this year. Really enjoy it. Definitely keeping it. We have some, oh, this is the Blend Bunny. This is a multi-chrome quad. Amazing quality, but I use my multi-chromes from Clionadh. I forgot this quad existed. I'm gonna give this one away because someone's gonna enjoy that a lot, and I clearly did not even remember it existed. This is some Kaleidos quads. I'm gonna put these two with my travel quads, and hopefully they can go traveling with me next year. That's gonna be my hope. And this is the Kaleidos Flower Punk. This is great quality, great color story, great quality. I still think of this palette fondly. I love the mix of the grungy greens and the pastels. Definitely keeping this one. And then we have the Escape Pod. This one is still available on their website. It is like a very bright, fun color story. I don't know where Kaleidos is. People ask me, do I know anything about them? I don't know. I don't know anything what they're doing, what's going on. This is a fun, colorful color story. Love this quality. And then this has recently become the unicorn of the beauty community. This is the first palette that Kaleidos ever came out with. This palette came out before they became really popular. This is the Deep Sea Luster palette. It got discontinued and they weren't able to reproduce it because some of the pigments in this palette no longer existed. So I do have this one, and it is a treasured palette in my collection. Again, it reminds me of when I was first getting into indie makeup and how amazed I was. So this is what it looks like. It is a really beautiful palette. With that being said, you can get this. You can get this quality from other indie brands now. I think a lot of people get hung up on stuff and they get FOMO because they're like, I can't get it, so I need to have it. I'm thinking of Kat Von D Mi Vida Loca. There are better rainbow palettes out there. I'm thinking Vida Muerte from Melt. There are better palettes than that out there. I'm thinking of this one right here. This is a great palette, but I'm telling you right now, you can get better quality than this from Ensley Reign, Bella Beauté Bar, Blend Bunny, Gourmande Girls. Like, this is great, but you can get this from indie brands if you were lusting for this one. But I think it's mostly collector's value at this point. Did you think we were done? We are not done. Hello, focus. We have more things to talk about. We have the, maybe let me actually open sesame. We have the Avatar The Last Airbender and Lethal Cosmetics collab that they did this year. This truly was an amazing collab. I cannot explain to you how good they did this one. Incredible quality. This is the air one. No, it's not. This is the fire one. Oh my god, if I can only remember the signs. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. This is the air one. Incredible. I love the different pops in here. This is an incredible neutral shimmer as well, and I usually don't get excited about neutral shimmers. This is the water one. Really pretty. And then we have the earth one. This just makes me so happy. It's just not just absolutely glorious. Definitely keeping these. I am definitely keeping these. I'm so excited about them. This is the Citrus Punch palette. This is the reformulated one. Absolutely keeping. Nomad Cosmetics Fuji 5 Lakes. This might be my new favorite palette by them. I think it is absolutely incredible. I love this color story. I also have their newer palette here. I'll show that in my last pile, which is going to be like palettes that I'm in the process of reviewing. This is High Temp, my favorite palette by Unearthly. Also one of their more affordable ones. I love this one. I think it's so good. And then we have the Arttitude Cosmetics Metamorph palette. This is the not the recent palette. I'm gonna actually show you their newer palettes. They have not been shown when I'm filming this video, but once this one goes live, they will have been, so I can show you those as well. I love the quality of this one, but I do think the color story is a little all over the place, and I say that with love. And if you look at this and you're like, wow, but I love it, then get it, because the quality is beautiful. I did drop two of my Clionadh palettes on the ground. Let's hope they survived. Okay, this is gonna be moment of truth. Moment of truth. This is the Paleo palette. It's absolutely beautiful. I think my favorite is the Archeo palette. I think the quality of these are really beautiful, but I do think for the future, they need to think a little bit more about what color stories do they think is going to sell the most. Because I feel like this color story, this is a new release of an old palette, and I think they should have updated the color story. This is my favorite. It survived. This is the Archeo palette. This is also a re-release, but somehow I think this one works better. I do think that they should put in something really deep for the mattes. And then we have the Oceano palette. This is the newer one, but I think that this one has the least cohesive color story. All of these shadows are incredible on their own, but it doesn't 1,000,000% work together as a cohesive color story, which is a shame. But I'm still gonna keep them. I love Clionadh. I love being able to follow their journey to creating more palettes, but it doesn't mean that I can't be, I don't want to say critical, I don't think that's the right word, but it doesn't mean that I can't have opinions about the things that they release. Let's get in to Ensley Reign, because I have a lot of Ensley Reign to talk about. And oh, this is a Nomad. This is a Nomad. This is the Venice Amor e Muerte. I really like this palette. I remember when they released this palette. It makes me very, very happy. I think the color story is beautiful. I love the artwork is beautiful, and how they open it. I really, really enjoy this one. I'm definitely keeping that one. Let's talk about Ensley Reign. I do have a couple of more palettes from Ensley Reign. They're in my things that are getting reviewed and hauled, so we will get to those in a little bit. But overall, these are the palettes that I have. So these are the Moon palettes. They have in Harvest Moon. I'm not going to declutter any of these because I really love this brand, and I don't want to say it's a newer brand, but they have released a lot of palettes. I do hope they release less palettes next year, but it's a newer brand somewhat in my collection in the grand scheme of things, and I really love their quality. One of my favorite indie qualities. For me, the mattes work incredibly good. They are pigmented, but not pigmented to the point that you can't blend them, but they're extremely buildable. And the shimmers are really incredible, and they give you variation. So this one is the Harvest Moon. This one is the Strawberry Moon. Look at that. There are some like multi-chromes, there are holochromes. They're just incredible. The shimmers are incredible. And then we have the Flower Moon. Such a beautiful one. Such a beautiful one. And then we have the Cold Moon, which is the Cool Tone palette. A lot of people were asking me to compare this one, and I did do that on my Instagram, to the new Icy palette from Huda that we're also going to talk about in a bit. And I think this one has more interesting textures. Some of the shimmers are a little bit flaky though, so you either have to use your finger or spray your brush, but on me, they wear beautifully. This isn't, of course, my favorite color story because it's a cool tone, but it might be my favorite cool tone palette because of how interesting it is. This one isn't part of like the Moon per se because it's called Groovy Garden, but I still think the color story is beautiful. And this also is where they did 2 rows of mattes and 1 of shimmers, which makes this one a little bit more versatile for me because I usually wear more mattes than shimmers when I do a look. And then we have, okay, this one is the Cosmic Dreamer. They did re-release an old color story. This one for me is the color story that has a little bit too much of everything. There's nothing wrong with it. Everything is beautiful. The formulas are beautiful. I just think this could have been edited down a little bit because it seems like they wanted to do everything, which again is the way that I feel some indie brands do with color stories. They want to do everything. This is my favorite palette from Ensley Reign, and it's simply because again, it's the same as that Winter Wonderland that I talked about from Cosmic Beauty. They were able to really perfect this color story. It's not easy to make pinks and blues and purples and like mint shades. It's not easy to make those perfected, but this one is perfected. And these like toppers are incredible. Different types of shimmers. There are like holographic ones. It's just, cannot say enough good things about this palette. It is truly perfection. If you look at this color story and you're like, wow, I love this, you will love this palette. It is such a good palette. Then we have the Twisted Tea Party. I think this is the re-release of the Twisted Tea Party. It's a really, really pretty color story. This one is what I think is a little bit more of a curated version of this one. You see what I mean? I feel like these are saying the same thing, but this one is more curated. I don't know if you agree, but they have a similar take to them. This one might be a little bit more brighter, but they're kind of saying the same thing, but this one is just saying it a little bit more curated and cohesive. Then we have the Underland palette, which, I mean, it's the same kind of theming. This is also like Alice in Wonderland. And this is, I think, their newer, bigger palette. I literally have one of my hairs in here. That's very sexy. Incredible quality. Yeah, I have a full video on this one. Incredible quality. I cannot say more than that. It's just, this is great. And two of my favorite palettes from the brand is the Flourish and the Flutter. These are smaller palettes, a little bit more curated. This one is so fun. It just makes me so happy. Honestly, absolutely incredible. I love this one. The lighter mattes in this one, they're not BAM pigment straight out of the gate, but it's because they have a little bit of white pigment in them to make them this bright. But I think they work absolutely incredible. I love this palette. I've had so much fun with this palette. I've traveled with this palette. I've also traveled with the Flutter palette. It's a more grungy big sister. Incredible. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about these two palettes. I just think that I want to see more palettes in this format from the brand, because I think they did that, like, they just did that so well. I did not get rid of a single one of those. Hashtag sorry, not sorry. More piles. We have some palettes that were in my little trolley that was next to stuff that I've been reviewing somewhat this year or been traveling with. And then I have all of my ColourPop palettes on the side. So we'll save those for a little bit. And this is the Too Faced Aptly in Love. I think that's what it's called. This is the palette that they released this fall. Honestly, I think it's beautiful. I think they did a great job. Is this indie quality? No. Is this good for being an Ulta or Sephora? Absolutely. If you don't like shopping indie brands, I do recommend this one. I'm gonna keep it. I think it's a really nice one. This is the Garden Busters palette. This is from the By Us brand. This is a new brand. I don't like that it's chunky. I wish it wasn't. I love the color. I mean, listen, I do makeup to make me happy. You can tell by my nails. I do makeup to make me happy, and this cover makes me happy. There are different sized pans in here. I don't love it, but I also don't hate it as much as if they were also jumbled up. And it is the mattes that have the square pans and the shimmers that have the... My husband is going to edit this and he's going to be like, how do you not know what this shape is called? I don't know. He's probably going to pop it up and he's going to be like, babe, what are you doing? I think this color story, again, is one of those color stories that's trying to do everything. I think they should have either kept it in this color story or in this color story. It didn't need to be a rainbow palette because I don't think it has enough depth to be a rainbow palette. I thought the quality was really good. I liked it. I'm gonna keep it to see what this brand is doing in the future. I don't wanna like declutter it before I see where they're going basically. I only have one palette from Clarity Cosmetics, and it's this one that's called Forbidden Love. And how do you open it? Oh, you open it like this. It's the same on the back and the front. It's a little bit confusing. I thought this palette was really nice. I had a lot of fun with this palette. I know that they have, I think this year they have like reformulated or upped their formula or something. I thought it was really good. I enjoyed this palette. I really like the look that I did. I'm going to keep it around for a little bit longer. I have been getting some other things from them as well that I just have not had the time to dive into. And I do feel really bad about that. But I also... I can't just try everything for the sake of trying. I only want to try it if I'm able to actually have time to review it. And I did use this one. I did review this one, and I think it's a really nice one. I'm going to keep it around to see what happens. This is the first palette that I have from Wicked Widow Beauty. This is the Crow palette. I thought that this palette was really nice. I like the quality of this, but I will say some of these shades did crease on me. This shade here is called Vengeance. It is like a metallic black with rainbow shimmer in it. It's actually quite incredible. And I just think that this palette was really nice, but some of them did crease on me. But again, this is a brand that I just recently, all three of these are brands that I just recently started like trying. I only have one palette each from them, and we're gonna save it and see if it's brands that I keep reviewing into the next year. This is the Gloss Gods Let's Get Nude. This is a really nice neutral palette. I am actually going to save this one. I think they did a great job with this one. This multi-chrome is so interesting. This is the Glamlite Fresh Pins palette. There's another Glamlite palette actually here in the bottom. Should we take it up? Oh my god. This is probably my favorite, or at least top 3 favorite palettes from Glamlite. This is the Rick and Morty palette. This palette is incredible. This is an interesting rainbow palette. Again, like I said with that other palette, if you are looking for a second rainbow palette, this one will give you so much interesting undertone, interesting shimmers. It's just the orangey reds down here, the really like almost periwinkle over here. It's so beautiful. I had so much fun with this. I love these 2 shades next to each other, like a warm and a cool. Absolutely beautiful. This palette is beautiful. If you have this palette, you don't need the Fresh Prince palette. It is just, this palette is this, but from Wish. It is like the Rick and Morty, but from Wish. There's nothing wrong with this, but it's lacking the interesting undertones. It is lacking the cohesiveness. It's just, the Rick and Morty is such a good palette. Why did we need this one? I don't get it. There's nothing wrong with it, but I don't understand why repeat yourself in a less exciting version. So I'm actually going to get rid of this one because I have this one and it's beautiful and I want to keep it and I want to love it. This one came out from Nomad this year. This is the Keys Beachy and Peachy. I like this color story. It is a softer rainbow palette. Again, I think they made the same mistake as I said with the Blend Money palette. This palette should not have a black background. It is making this palette look so harsh, and it actually ruined the whole look of this palette. This palette should have had like a light blue, maybe like just waves behind it or something. The black background is ruining everything. Again, I have been saving all my Nomad palettes, so I'm gonna save this one as well. I think it is a really fun one. Oh, here we're getting into some more fantasy Cosmetica. I told you I had some more. This is the Cradled in Ice. This is when they started doing some 12 pans. Dang, this is good. Dang, this is a good palette. This is such a good palette. Loving these tones here. The shimmers are incredible. If I could give any constructive feedback to this palette, it is that I wish that one of these shimmers would have been like a iridescent topper. I honestly wish that the shades that they had in the highlighter palette that I thought was too intense to be a highlighter palette, I decluttered that in last episode of my declutters. If you didn't see my highlighter and face palette declutter, that has already been published. I wish they put those shades in this palette. I cannot, that would have been perfect. Honestly, perfection. If those were eyeshadow pans, I would have done it myself. That would have been so much better in here. And they did it as a highlighter palette for this, but I just wish they would have put them in the palette instead. It would have made so much more sense. With that being said, love the palette. Definitely keeping it. Here we have the Unearthly Cosmetics Leather and Lace. I think this is a great color story. Not their best color story. They have done better, but this is the new release of this palette. I'm going to keep it for my collection and because it is available. I had someone ask me a while ago, and let me know if this is something you want to see. I'm toying with the idea. I've started planning for it. Someone told me I want to go into indie makeup, but I feel like it's always too colorful. Is there anything for me if I love neutrals? This one. Glaminatrix Cosmetics Barely Neutral. And if you watch this video now, you've probably seen a couple of neutral options. So let me know, do you want to see a video basically like indie makeup for neutral lovers? Like, where do you start? I could definitely do something like this. This is a great neutral palette. It has iridescent topper shades, very, very intense metallics. One of them even being, I think, like a little bit of a multichrome here. I think it's this one that has like, yeah, a greeny gold bronze red kind of situation. Mattes, going from light, going to dark. Very interesting. Very, if you love neutrals, you want to dive into indie makeup, I think you should start here or some of the other ones that I've been talking about. There are some good ones. This is my favorite Lunar Beauty palette. This is the Moonshroom. I mean, at this point, you have kind of gathered what my color selection is. That yellow row makes my heart sing. So good. So incredibly lovely. Absolutely love it. This is so fun. This is the Profusion and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is a really fun palette. Let me see if I can open it. You can see that there's like slime here, right? I think that's pretty cool. Let me see if I can open. I think the quality of this one is really good. The purples and blues are pretty weak. I'm going to be honest with you. The shimmers are pretty impressive. I am going to save this one. I need to search and see if this is still available, because I don't think that I will choose this one over any of my indie palettes for me to use. So I might declutter this one because it is limited edition actually, and I will get something from Profusion that is not limited edition, because I want to be able to recommend something to you from Profusion, because I realize that we're all working with different budgets. Some people don't want to order makeup online. They want to be able to step into Walmart or step into a CVS and get something, and then Profusion is perfect. And also it's very, very affordable. And I will say, from those really affordable brands that I've tried, I'm talking like Wet n Wild, LA Girl, you know what I'm talking about, this is probably the best eyeshadow formula I've tried. With that being said, is it as good as indie? No, but it is really good. It is really good quality. Do I need it in my collection though? Because will I compare this to anything because it's being it's discontinued? That's what I need to ask myself. So I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna declutter this one, but if Profusion releases something else that you want to see me like review, I'll pick that one up too, and I will let you know if it's the same good quality as this one, because I do still stand by. This was nice quality. Again, is it as good as indie? No. But it's definitely better than like Wet n Wild. It's better than some e.l.f. shadows I've tried as well. It is definitely better than like the LA Girl shadows I tried. So it is nice. We also have some other things here. This is, I'm pretty sure Flower knows, this is Moonlight Land. This is pretty good quality. Again, will I reach for this over any of my other blue eyeshadows? No, probably not. Oh, actually, okay, don't hate me, but I will get rid of these. These are my least favorite palettes from Nomad Cosmetics. This is the Nomad Air. I don't think that this is the same good quality as Nomad usually has. So I'm actually gonna get rid of these, because even though I love a good small palette for traveling, these are not as good as some of the other quads and small palettes that I own. So I wouldn't pick these over them. So I'm gonna get rid of it. This one though, this is a little gem. This quad, this is the Cena quad from Game Beauty. This one for traveling, are you kidding me? Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Yes, 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 I'm putting this in my travel. Absolutely love. Did travel with this one. This is the BH Cosmetics Optimistic AF. I brought this one traveling. I will keep this one. This is an incredible fiery yellow red palette, and since it is, again, cardboard, pretty sturdy formula, it doesn't break when I travel with it, so I'm still gonna keep that one as well. I think it is beautiful. Oh, here we have the newest mystery box, as I'm filming this is the newest mystery box palette from Unearthly Cosmetics. This is the Night Terror 9-pan palette. This one recently came out. This is really pretty. I'm gonna keep this one. Love this color story. The curation of this color story is perfection, honestly. Absolutely love. Definitely keeping. Why is there a highlighter palette here? No wonder I never reach my face palettes. I don't even keep them in a good place. I wish these were singles. This quality is A+++. This is the Moonshroom highlighter palette by Lunar Beauty. I need to put this somewhere where I use it more. The formula is incredible. Such a good formula. It's in the wrong place. I need to put that somewhere better. We have the Botanical palette by Beauté, and we have the Wizard palette. Oh, I love this one. I have reached for this palette so much. Love these two lighter shades here. The shimmers are incredible. There is a like a multi-chrome holographic shade over here. It's so, you can't see anything in here, trust me on it, but I do have a video swatching and showing this, as with all the palettes that you're seeing here. All of these palettes, you'll be able to find looks and swatches on my channel. This is incredible. Definitely keeping this one and keeping it with my other Fantasy Cosmetica. I was a little bit disappointed by this one. This is the Beauté Botanica palette. I didn't like this as much as I thought I was gonna like it. I thought it was a little boring. I didn't like the undertones as much as I thought when I got it on my eyes. I didn't think the shimmers were very interesting. It is an affordable palette, but for the first time with Beauté, it also felt like an affordable palette. There was something about this, I didn't fall in love, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Okay, let's get into some ColourPop then, before I get into my newer palettes that I haven't even like reviewed or hauled or anything like that. So let's see what we can do about these palettes. I would like Ideally, I would like to get these palettes down a little bit. That would be my... that would be ideal if I can get them down a little bit. This is the So Elemental palette. This one came out this year. I actually really... I like this one more than I thought I was gonna like this one. I'm gonna keep this. This is like grayish blues that I enjoyed this one. I don't know. I feel like I'm afraid to say this because I heard some people don't liking it, but maybe it's because it was more blue than gray. And for me, I like it because it is more, well, blue than gray. This is the Orange Glad. This is all old, but I do really like this one and I still wear it. Should I still wear it? Probably not, but I do. I do still wear it. Oh my God, there's so much hair here. Nobody look at that. Did anyone see that? Nobody, nobody focus on that. This is the Mandalorian. Absolutely beautiful. I'm gonna keep this one. This is, when I tell you 2 million zillion drillion times during this video, I already have that brown and yellow color story other places. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. I love this. I love this palette. Not just because it is my favorite character from Star Wars. Yes, C-3PO, favorite character from Star Wars. Love the snarkiness. But this is my dream neutral palette. Such a good palette. Absolutely love it. These two I talked about quite recently. Or kid you not. This is high quality, like berry shades. If you are looking for berry shades, this is high-end quality at a drugstore price. You're looking for red shadows, these high-end quality drugstore price. Cannot recommend those two palettes enough. They're absolutely incredible. Here's the Rock On palette. This is, first of all, this color, like, look at this. Oh, this is a really good neutral palette too. I think I'm gonna save this one too. I actually really enjoyed that one. Again, Star Wars. Is this my favorite color story? No. But it's Star Wars. Come on. What do you want from me? This is the Tinkerbell palette. I actually really like the quality of this one, but I think it's time to let this one go because I have not reached for it. And if I want these kind of greens, I now have other palettes that have it. So I think it's time to let that one go. Again, Mandalorian. Is this my favorite color story? No, but it's Star Wars. Give me a break. I love this one. Blue Velvet. This one is the ColourPop and Target collection. If you are looking for blue shadows to add to your collection, get this one. Like, truly, get this one. This is amazing quality. Not great for the price. This is great quality blues at an affordable price. I wish it didn't have this packaging, but I will let that slide for that price tag and that quality. This is a palette that they released and then discontinued kind of immediately. This is Into the Limelight. I love this one. I absolutely love this one. Definitely keeping it. I don't know why they discontinued it. I still use mine. This is the Mint to Be. You know what? I think I'm going to get rid of this one. I get these shades from other brands now. Then we have the Lush Life. One of the better palettes that they've ever released, but it's discontinued. It's older. And I think I'm going to let this one go. It's beautiful though. Don't get me wrong. Love this, but I think I'm going to let it go. Golden Hour was released this year. And I did do a review on this one. I think this is a really nice, golden neutral palette. I'm going to keep it for now because, again, I am reviewing some ColourPop and I want to keep, like, the newer palettes. We have some Hocus Pocus palettes here. Isn't there another one? I feel like there should be another one. I'm sure it's here somewhere. Or maybe it's not. Who knows? This is the original one. Oh, if I was only in frame. I think it's really nice. I actually really enjoyed this one. I think I'm going to save the original one and I'm going to declutter the second one because I haven't reached for any of these, but I think that this will still have like a collector's value in my collection to compare to. Let me see if I can put these on this side instead. Precious Metals. It's a really nice palette, but it didn't need to be this big. But I think the quality is really beautiful, but I am going to save that one. And then, oh my God, the Pokemon palette. I think this is a fairly decent palette. I think the quality of these are really good. This is a rainbow palette. I like the looks that I've done with this one. I think it's nice quality. There are some of those like glitter shades in here, but I feel like with all the palettes that they're trying to keep the cost down a little bit, they do include a couple of those like glittery shades. There are 3 in here. Not ideal. I would just up the price. Just up the price or put in mattes, but that's just my personal opinion. I mean, look at the art. It's really cute. I'm gonna save this one. Let's go get this bigger palette out of the way, actually. So this is the It's a Mood. I think that this is probably the best bigger palette that they've done. This one though has those not good. Do I need this? Because just as I said it, this one has the not good pressed glitter formula. The pressed glitter formula is actually, according to me, like unusable. This is a great palette. Do I need this one? The pressed glitters, I think, is making me not want it. This one though, I wish ColourPop would make even more like fun color stories like this. I had so much fun with this one. We're definitely keeping that. This is an unsung hero. If you love fiery colors and warm neutrals, this is great. It truly is a great palette. The shades in here are really good quality. I think this palette is great. Let's keep that one. Ooh, I also, oh, this is so cute. It's the Muppets Holidays, Holidays, Holidays. Wait, I really like this palette. I love these two shades here. I kind of want to keep it. Okay. I'll keep that one. This is one of the most interesting stories that they have ever done. And a color story, like this muted, dusky, neutral color story. It's almost like grungy neutral pastels. It's such an interesting undertone. Again, if you love neutrals and you want to have something that will stick out in your collection, I cannot recommend this one enough. I think this one is actually beautiful. I'm still keeping it. I think it's beautiful. Lost in Love was this year's Valentine's palette, right? I think this was good, but not as good as the last year's holiday palette, so I'm gonna get rid of it. We have the Star Wars palette here. I think not only is this good quality, but I mean, it's the original Star Wars. Clearly we are keeping this one. Also, funny story, ColourPop actually sent this one to me earlier than the rest of their PR list because they know I love Star Wars so much. And I will forever be grateful for that because I think that made me really happy. I love Star Wars. This is Troublemaker. This is a really great cool tone palette. If you love cool tones, this one is a great cool tone palette and it has an incredible silver in here. I'm going to save this one for recommendations because it is such a good cool tone palette. This one is a palette that I really enjoy, but I think it came and went. It was a collab with Mariale, and it was a nice color story, and I think it just came and went. I'm going to declutter that one. I don't know if this one is still available, but this is one of my favorite color stories that ColourPop has ever done. Into the Springs. I'm going to save this one. I love this one. Oh, here's the other Hocus Pocus. I'm gonna get rid of this one too and keep the original one. I think this one is really nice, but the original one is, I think, the one that's like the best like collector value. This is so sweet. It's the Beauty and the Beast. And I don't mind this color story at all. I actually think it's a really nice color story. So we're gonna save that one too. I used to be the biggest Raw Beauty Christie fan. I really did. But from what has come into the light as of late, I simply cannot support that. This is the Welcome Foolish Mortals. This is the collaboration with the Haunted Mansion. I actually got this palette just before I went on the Haunted Mansion in Disney for the first time. I think this color story is really nice. I think it's really cute. I'm gonna save this for one more year and see if I can get some more use out of it. Again, it's a nice cool tone palette to recommend as well. I love this series, and I think, I know unpopular opinion, I save the sleeves because they're so beautiful. I think these are amazing quality. I am really happy with this color story. I know this is just a brownie green, but this one works with all of these shades because of the undertone. You can deepen up the blue, you can deepen up the red, you can deepen up this and this with this shade. This shade works with every matte in here. This one, this one, this one, all of them, which makes this palette incredibly versatile. If they would have put in a green in here, yes, it would have represented the series more, but it also would have looked like the Twister palette. You know, the game Twister? We all know the game. This shade made this palette into an actually versatile, usable palette, and the quality is great. I will die on that hill. One of the better color stories that ColourPop has ever released. Quality is great. Definitely saving. With the Legends of Korra, oh, this packaging is so good. They made a couple of different choices, and they did actually do a little bit more of the green and a little bit more of the blue. And I like this one too. And I like that they only did one yellow and they made it a little bit more mustard to not make it too clownish. Again, this is a beautiful palette. I think the quality is beautiful. I mean, look at this palette. Look at how beautiful the inside is. I think they did a great job. And I'm going to be honest, as someone who have seen the series, I think both of these palettes are great. I think that this is one of the better execution of collabs that ColourPop has ever done. And I think it would have been impossible for them to please everyone, but I do think they did a great job. And the quality is amazing, and I still use them, and I think they're great. I will die on that hill. Here are some of the newer palettes. Oh, and then also this one. This is the Flirty Talk palette. This is the Valentine's palette from 2 years ago. I think this is a really, really great palette, but I am actually going to get rid of it because it is a little bit older. And if I want to use this kind of a color story, I do have other things. And ColourPop has a tendency of coming up with so many palettes that eventually, if you're not reaching for them on a somewhat monthly basis, you do kind of have to get rid of them. Did reach for this a lot last year, not as much this year. Okay. Here is the Twilight palette. These are newer palettes. I'm going to be saving all of these because I'm still in the middle of they're going to be part of a review. So this is the Twilight palette. For this color story, I think they did a really good job. Did it need to be inspired by the blue film that was over the movie? I don't know about that, but it is what it is. I don't know enough about Bratz to say whether or not this is a good color story, but I think it's an interesting color story. I wish it didn't have those glittery shades, but I guess that's just what ColourPop does now. This is the Frosty the Snowman. This color story is very interesting. Again, I did wish it didn't have those pressed glitter things. This is the one. This. But again, I guess that's just what we do right now. I think that this one has a very interesting color story. Then we have the After Hours. This is actually really nice. I love the burgundy tones of this one. And I will say the glittery shades in this is not as chunky as they were in some of the other palettes that I showed. I feel like they made them a little easier to use here. And then this is the Stranger Things collab. I think the quality of this one is actually really good. I think that this is a very interesting color story. I think there's a lot of things that you can do with this color story. Again, it does have two of those glitter shades. This one actually is smoother. This one is a little bit more gritty. I'm a broken record. I wish we didn't have those in palettes, but here we are basically. Those were the ColourPop palettes. Let's take out the palettes that are the absolute newest in my collection that hasn't even been reviewed or hauled yet. Final little batch. These are things that are unused or in different, because I have different baskets. Things that are to be hauled, things that are to be used, things that are to be reviewed. So many different baskets. This one I bought when I was in Australia. This is from Sueva. This is a little quad. Again, I'm going to put this together as soon as I review it. I'm going to put this together with my travel things. It's actually a really nice rosy quad. I mean, all of these, I can tell you already, we're keeping all of these. This is the Nighttime Realness. This is by Trixie Cosmetics. I got this as a gift from another creator, and I still have not gotten into it. This year has been crazy. Again, I really hope that brands release less next year and really think through all of the releases, or release like Ensley Reign is doing, smaller things that I can deal with too. So I am still planning to use this at some point. I just have not gotten to it. These are full of glue for some reason. Okay. This is the Coca-Cola and Glamlite collab. I've only, okay, not true. I have used this one. And I have swatched these. This is not their great formula. That's why I decided to not include them in the video. I'm just gonna be doing another look with them and then reviewing them. At least this one. It's not their normal great formula. This one might be. I don't know. I haven't used it yet. This is the Cherry Cola. I was just surprised when I used this one. I was like, oh, okay. Because I was gonna include them in one of those 4 or 6 indie palettes and different looks, but then I used this one when I was going to a party, and I was like, wait, I don't love it, so I decided to include another palette instead. But yeah, at some point I will definitely be getting to that as well. These are the new palettes by Makeup Revolution. Oh, these are closed. Okay, sorry. I'm not going to open them right now. These are the Icon palettes. So they released a couple of these new palettes, and I've been hearing that these are really, really good quality. This one has 2 creams in there as well. And then we have this one that I think is probably my favorite. This one is called the Enchanted Icon with the little purpley mauvey shades. I have heard that these are great quality, and we're definitely going to be trying out at least one of them and seeing if they actually are that great quality that people are saying, because like I'm interested and you're probably interested too. I just haven't had time yet, but they're in my pile of like stuff to use. Then in my pile of stuff to review is the Enchanted Autumn. This is the collaboration between Fantasy Cosmetica and Amanda from Makeup Just for Fun, and they did a fall palette. Look at this mirror and you can see I have a tailspin t-shirt on. Yes, very much loving that. This is a take on a more grungy, like muted fall color story with almost like a grayish base on it without oranges. I think she did such a great job. She created her own dream palette, and I love Fantasy Cosmetica and I love Amanda. I'm a little bit biased with this palette, but I do think it's a really nice palette, and I'm keeping all of these, but like this is Bella Beauté Bar's Poison Garden. Wow, is this a great palette. Wow, is this a great palette. The quality of these shades are incredible. This corner right here makes me so happy. These blues makes me so happy. There is a holographic shadow in here. I don't know what to say, but this is so fun. This is so fun, but they have released a lot of palettes this year. Let me show you another one that's new, because yeah, we have 2 palettes that are new from this brand. This is the Vamp palette. So I really hope that next year they keep releasing these amazing palettes, but maybe not as many. Quality of this one is great too. I have looks with both of these, but I'm just like, maybe we need to chill a little bit. This is the Icy Nude by Huda Beauty. This I just got. This is really hard to show because it's so reflective. But this is, according to me, and I didn't think that when I bought it, because I never buy things I think I'm not gonna like. This one is too many light shades that are too similar when you swatch them out. And I just think that this palette doesn't have enough variety. And some of them even look the same on me. And again, I have light medium skin with a warm undertone. I just think that this palette needed a little bit more work. It also is an old school pressed glitter in here. Gritty, awful. Absolutely awful. This doesn't belong in a 2024 palette. Almost to the point where I'm like, is there a mistake? This shadow? No. Then we have the Roxa palette. Look at the green sheen of this one. Oh, this is by Natasha Denona. I think this palette is beautiful. I love the purpley tones. I love that there is a little bit of warmth going on over here. I love the different shades of shimmers, because I feel like sometimes Natasha Denona has a tendency of putting mattes that are very different, but some shimmers that are quite similar. Here I feel like all the shimmers are very different, and I think that the curation of this palette is amazing, and I love the quality of it. I need to use it at least once more before I actually review it. Then we have the palette that Oden's Eye released before their Christmas palettes, and this is the Eternal Twilight palette. They did a more like a mega palette. This is what it looks like. There are some really nice shades in here, but this is not my favorite palette from the brand. I do think that there are some themes of shades that we have seen before from the brand, especially in this corner here. And I also think that some of these shimmers are a little bit more on the flaky side, which isn't my favorite. There are some shimmers though that are incredible, like this Mistletoe. So incredible. So there are some shades here that are really amazing. I just think again that this palette probably would have been better off with just being this one with this front. That's just my personal opinion on it. It probably would have been even better then. With that being said, if you love a mega palette, if you love the color story that I'm showing you, I don't think you'd be disappointed with this palette. It's not bad quality. It's just that I prefer smaller palettes. Let's go into a pile of palettes that are, I picked these up from downstairs. I told you I had the new version of the classic Autumn. So this is the updated, oh my god, can I open this? This is the updated matte formula from DD Signature. So this is the one that I'm going to be saving instead of the one that I got rid of. Same with this one, that is the Jingle Bell Ruby. This is the updated matte formula. So these are the ones I'm going to be saving. These are really nice. That crispy holidays is just absolutely amazing. I think you would love that shimmer. It's so beautiful. And then we have these from Ensley Reign. I hope that they have revealed the What the Fox when this palette is going live, because I already have it, but I'm pretty sure, because they said they were going to reveal it around the 13th of December, and that is when I'm planning to have this video live. But as I'm filming this, they just revealed the Happy-Go-Lucky today. This is the Nutty by Nature. This is the first of the 6 pans that they revealed. They are going to be releasing 1 6-pan shadow palette per month. I don't know, for a year? I don't know how long, but for a bit. And so far, I have 3 of them. This is the first one, yellow and browns. How many times do I need to say it? Again, I just took out the plastic in this one. This one I haven't done anything with. This is the Happy-Go-Lucky. How cute is that? It's like a neutral peachy palette with a pop of this mint would look so good together with these. Such a beautiful palette. And then we have the one that they are releasing for December, the What the Fox. And again, I really hope that they are still going to be showing this one, because now I'm showing this one. And this one is, look at that. This was almost like a cool toned green palette with this almost burgundy brown. This clever, I see it here. This is an extremely intense green topper. It looks bananas. And this one is a bronze to a green. You can see there, bronze to a green, which is actually going to look really good with these shades. This is incredible. This looks so good. I just hope the brand has shown these, because now I'm showing these. No, I would never put this video live if they didn't show it, but I wanted to let you know that these are something that Ensley Reign is doing, and I love the quality. And if you wanted to try something smaller, that could be nice. This is the Nomad Cosmetics Polar Express. And as you can tell, this is still in the box, because I have not been able to do anything with this because I didn't have time. This one has already been revealed, already been released, and this is what it looks like. This is the holiday palette for this year. Blue, white, look at the hot cocoa, and a neutral row, and then a muted red row. I think a lot of people will really enjoy this. This will make the most amazing cool tone smoky eye. It's like a cool tone dark taupe metallic, really pretty. I love these kind of shades. I love blues. This makes me very happy. I understand some people. I saw somebody writing in a group chat that I am on an Instagram, somebody writing, I think more people look good in blue than think they look good in blue. And I could not agree more. Why am I not getting this one in here? Hello? I cannot agree more. I think there's a lot of people out there that say that they don't look good in different shades. And it's not that they wouldn't look good in it. It's just that you're not used to seeing yourself in that. I would say experiment a little bit. You might find some new favorite colors. Okay, let's save these for last. This is the Calavera palette by Gourmande Girls. I just recently did a video where I included this one. It's a rainbow palette from Gourmande Girls. Has a lot of really interesting shades in there. We also have, this is the Harvest of Souls for Fantasy Cosmetica. So this color story. This color story has my heart. It's such a good color story. Love the mix of cool tones, warm tones, berries. Love this one. Then another Nomad Cosmetics. This is the Chicago Speakeasy. Looks like this. I also have a video using this one. I really, again, I like the pop of green here, and then just muted purples, warm neutrals, and then just a little pop of green. This is like a blue to, I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can see it's like a blue to a green duochrome in there. It's very exciting. And then it is the Blend Bunny and Robert Welch Divination palette, the collab that they did. I think the colors in here are really exciting. And I think even more people that review makeup would have been even more excited had Blend Bunny not done so many palettes already that has the rose and, again, giving us everything. With that being said, I love this row here. The peachy rosy browns, very nice row. These two rows up here, super, super interesting. Absolutely love those. But again, I think I, as an individual, want to see something different from Blend Bunny. With that being said, this is great quality. I can't complain about the quality. It's just that sometimes you're like, I wish I could see something more. These are two palettes that, as I'm filming this, have not been revealed yet. This is the Arttitude Cosmetics Urban Neutrals and Vintage Neutrals. I have some thoughts about calling these palettes neutrals because I don't think that either of these palettes are a neutral palette. And that's just going to be my opinion. I think a lot of people are going to look at this and they're going to be like, this isn't a neutral palette. But maybe that's in the same way that like the Cool Trolls is not a neutral palette either from Cosmic Beauty. But this one has like a lot of very colorful shades in here. And it might also be that this palette is, the layout is very jumbled up. And maybe if it was a little bit more arranged color-wise, you would have been able to see that it's leaning more neutral than it is. But I think with that being said, it sounds like I'm being very harsh. I'm just questioning the word neutrals. Or maybe I'm questioning the layout of the palette. Either or. I do think there are some really interesting shades in here though, and I'm very excited to be trying it out. And then we have the one that's called Vintage Neutrals. I think these are available now, and this is together with a bunch of these brands that you've seen. Always try the code Angelica at checkout if you're buying some indie makeup, because it might very well give you a discount. So this is the Vintage Neutrals. Again, neutrals, I don't know. I don't know if I would call this neutrals. It could be that it's jumbled up. It could be just me. I would love to hear your thoughts about it. With that being said, there's a lot of fun shades in here. This one, the red green duochrome, love shades like that. This is a pink iridescent topper, I can tell already. Mustards, you know I love a mustard. Maybe I'm questioning how it's laid out. Maybe that's me. But that's just also like how everybody has their way of how they want an eyeshadow palette to be arranged. And I am not asking any brand to arrange their eyeshadows or to create palettes that's perfect for me. They should create palettes that's perfect for them and for their the majority of their customers. Let me put these away. And let me take out all of the palettes that I decluttered so that we can count how many there are. Okay, I'm gonna do this part standing up because as you can see, there's quite a bunch of palettes here. I'm gonna bring out a basket and I'm gonna start putting the small ones in the basket and then just count as I go. And then I'll come back and I'll let you know how many there are. Okay, that was 30 palettes. Okay, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. Okay, 50 palettes. $60 palettes. $70 palettes. 80. Sorry, I said that in Swedish. 80. 90, 91, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 100, 101, 102, 103 palettes. That's how many palettes I am decluttering. Honestly, I wish it was more. That's gonna be the total honesty because I have so many palettes, but also right now I am doing a lot of, I mean, palettes is my favorite thing in makeup as well. Let's not lie. But also right now I am doing a lot of comparisons on my channel and I try to keep a lot of palettes because I want to help people make the right decisions, which ones are the right palette for you. But there's also a lot of favorites here for me that I reach for every now and then, and I don't want to declutter something that I actually enjoy. That makes no sense. But let me know which ones are your favorites. Did I declutter any of your favorites? If I did, no harsh feelings, okay? We all have different tastes. I hope you liked the video. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. It really, really does help out. Share it with your friends. Leave a comment. It really does help out. And I will see you very soon again in a new video. Bye!